These were definitely situations where anybody would have been hurt. So, for instance, Will Smith was talking about his wife's infidelity, or they were talking about it. We had this situation with Tyrese. He was having some difficulties with his child's mother in reference to seeing his daughter, who he had not seen for some time, and that was anything or something that anybody would have been emotional about. And what happened was the public ran with it. You know, it became again more memes and jokes. And it made me again go, why is that not okay for these people to talk about their hurt? I also put up, and I don't know if you guys seen this, but I kind of would like input when we go to this topic. They talked about Jay-Z and Beyonce and how he had been cheating within the marriage. And it was brought forward that it was based on his childhood trauma that had not been dealt with. And he and B made this decision that they were willing to stay in their marriage if he were to go to counseling and deal with that childhood trauma that was causing him to behave in the way that he was. So I did have someone reach out to tell me they call bull. You know, basically, he made a conscious decision to do something that, you know, could jeopardize his marriage. However, he either thought because he got this young, impressionable girl that was, you know, fully vested that she would not leave him, or he either thought he would never get caught. Either way wasn't an excuse. So again, going back to the hurt of our men, like who was dealing with it? How are we dealing with it? How can we as the women help with dealing with it? I'd like some insight. So I want you guys, whether it's us talking about the men talking about their own personal experiences and why they came to feel that they could not share their feelings, or the women and the experiences that we've had dealing with men that either don't know how to deal with their feelings, don't know how to communicate, have issues when it comes to communication that either lead to the far opposite. So them not showing hurt leads to arguments that are filled with rage and anger instead of them actually expressing. So I want to kind of give the floor to the audience and kind of hear from your experiences and what you. I can't see what you're saying, Nakia. I can't. She can't hear?
I can't hear.
You can't hear me?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so video.
I can hear you.
You can hear me, Kiwana?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so it might be an issue on your phone. Rebel will be maybe turn up your volume on your phone or your device.
Anyone else? Nika, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, 2 people can hear us out of the 3 so far. So it might be something on your end. Sorry about that.
So
We don't know sign language.
try to log off and log back on.
We understood that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I do have some notes that we were putting together. So if it looks like I'm reading notes, I absolutely am, because I do have some things that I wanted to get into that kind of set the stage on what it is that we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically, let's be honest, you know, when it comes to processing emotions, there's different expectations for men and women, because women sometimes are viewed as sensitive. It's really acceptable for them to express their feelings. We expect it. So whether it's sadness, whether it's, you know, anger or whatever, you know, that's acceptable for them to express their feelings. But men, on the other hand, when we're feeling sad, or we're, you know, we basically have to be perceived as strong and fearless, the alpha dog, the alpha male, top dog, or whatever. And it's not encouraged that we express our emotions. I know that I read that in some Indian cultures, that the men are actually required to figure out how to keep their tear glands from working so that they don't cry, where meanwhile the women are like encouraged to just pour openly. So it's not just in American society, although it is really, really heavy here. It seems like this is an overall thing where men in general are just basically shamed, let me let you in, for expressing their feelings. It goes on to say that these cultural norms and gender stereotypes have been circulating for generations, which they have. This has, been since the beginning of time, and they can be toxic, especially for men, which we found out basically with the way we handle relationships, with whether it be with our significant others, or even our kids, or even with ourselves. And there's a lot of damage that happens to us because of these things. It sometimes looks at men who express their emotions are often seen as weak. Because of that, we basically don't want to show our emotions. No different than what you talked about with Will Smith, Tyrese, and the other ones who basically were mocked because they came forward with how they were feeling. And this is the reason why men now don't express their feelings. This is why we hold everything in, which is not really, really good. I'll say, for one thing, it's very frustrating for my babe when, in the beginning, because I'm so emotionally unavailable. Where there was something that she wanted to talk about, or just wanted to really understand, or get a feeling, or even understand how I might be feeling. But because I couldn't express how I was feeling, because when I grew up, it was basically, I grew up as, okay, don't be a sissy, be tough, don't be a punk, and then that just, even from an early age. So then as I'm going to school and you got kids in the classroom that are looking at you and basically don't be a punk, and you got to be hard growing up in the hood, and you got people trying to take what it is that you have, or people that just want to test you just to make sure that you're not some soft person. And so we go through life from a very early age with this whole bravado, this whole shell of a person that we are going through life, because we're not really looking to express the true us. So we basically are walking around mean mugging, and the whole, nod of the acknowledgments from one man to another, just a simple "what's up," or even the down. So there's rarely a smile. There's really a general exchange of pleasantries. It's just like, okay, let's see who's the toughest, right? I see you. And that's socially acceptable for men. So basically, for men being told, from the very beginning to man up, or act like a man, or do some push-ups, or stop being a punk, something that we, learned in our childhood, and it basically stuck with us through adulthood. And basically over time, we just got really good at turning off our emotions. So now the problem is, when it comes to communicating with someone else, when it comes to expressing how you feel about something, you really can't access, because you basically shut that part off. So as easy as it is for me to simply turn off an emotion that I might have for whatever it is. If I feel like I'm ready to cry about something, it just cuts off. But just because I've been able to do it since so young, shut up before I give you something to cry about. So just from 4 or 5 years old, you learn how to hold that stuff in, and you just carry it around. It doesn't go out. There's no outlet for that. So that's part of the reason why we want to get into this topic, and some of the negative effects it's had on our men. And again, the relationships that we have with our women, with our kids, with ourselves, and what we can do to fix that, because it is a big problem.
Nikia.
She can't hear us. I don't know why. Everybody else can hear us.
She's gonna log off and back on again. Switch phones.
Make sure you connect to Wi-Fi.
Connecting to audio. Okay, she's connecting to audio now. Maybe is that better?
Can you hear us now? Still can't hear us? Yeah, but
I can't.
Kiwana, Shadika can't hear us. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
So what I'd like to talk about more than anything is, so you have your examples. How do we, I guess, even as the women, how do we help you? And I've dealt with this in relationships. I've dealt with this with my brothers. I've dealt with this with, guy friends that I have that I care about as brothers. I was talking to Charles earlier about, like, one of my little brothers. I had two brothers. My baby brother was really the, hold it in. If he were to talk about his feelings, it was an explosion. Like, he just held it. Then I have my brother that's right up under me, who is just emotional. Like, it does not take much to get this man crying. And recently, so again, he's always been a softie since we were growing up, especially if he's talking to me. I don't know what it is. If I'm talking to him, especially in my like stern older sister, mommy type of voice, he is a wreck, just a wreck. Recently, he suddenly lost his wife. And now I'm really worried about him because I know he does not process his feelings well. And then I'm finding that a lot of our men, they're more prone into, okay, if I drink more. If I smoke weed, I'll smoke weed more. Or if I'm a workaholic, I'm just throwing myself into my job, but never actually dealing with that. So we have a rising, especially with the pandemic and all of this that's been happening in the world, of suicides, again, of drinking, increase of all of that. What can we do to help with that as your women? And with our men, how do we change that narrative that, again, men aren't allowed to have feelings, men aren't allowed to hurt, men aren't allowed to talk about what it is that's bothering them. We even talked earlier about the whole happy wife, happy life. That even within itself says the goal of the man is to make sure that the woman is happy. And if the woman is happy, then there's peace in the house. Never mind if he's happy, but if she's happy, there's peace in the house. When do we get to a point of recognizing that it's necessary for both parties to be happy in order for there to be true harmony and not someone just kind of holding it in?
And feel free to also, if you've had some experiences with someone that you may have dealt with, whether you were able to help them or not, feel free to share some experiences that you have, how the relationship had gone based because you weren't able to effectively communicate with this person. So we're all ears. Let us know.
I'm ready to start.
So you just jumped in. So now I see, it looks like you got sound now. You still can't. I don't know.
You can hear us?
Yes.
There you go. There you go. So again, I know with you, Kaylana, again, you're married. You also are raising a little boy. I know you also have kids. You have daughters that have had relationships. Same with you, Nakia. You have a son. Shanika, you have brothers and etc. Give me some something. Give me some feedback. Give me some info. Like, what do we do?
And while you guys are looking and thinking about what you want to respond with, I just put up a picture of something that, is a thing, where we're taught, like I said, from an early age, you can't express emotion. You can't be looked like as a punk or a sissy or whatever because men aren't supposed to cry. But unfortunately, this is where we are now, where we don't know how to tap into our emotions. So as you look at that, just know, this is a thing that you now are dealing with as, adult women dealing with adult men who either go into their cave. I know I've been known to do that myself because you just don't know how to deal with or process certain emotions or to feel comfortable sharing those emotions in a way that can be communicated and there can be a resolution that, that you come to.
I know a lot of men that just shut down. Mm-hmm. They just shut down. It's real stuff happening. I've seen people where mothers died, grandmothers died, their children have died. And instead of, again, seeking counseling or whatever, like there's so many of us that have went through real stuff. And honestly, I know everybody doesn't believe in counseling, but I think that is something that we should push more, especially when people have had grievances. Like I know people who have gone through some real hurt, real losses, including myself. And I've heard, men don't go to counseling, just like that's just not a thing that they do. And when encouraging my son, so I'm going to talk from my own personal experience, like when my son was going through things and I realized that the help he needed, I couldn't give him, it's just stuff that I don't understand as a woman. It's things that men go through that just women do not go through. And at times, I don't think his father was the most compassionate, but I think his father was also raised by a man's man that was very, keep it inside, handle it. So he didn't know how to encourage my son to share his feelings or talk about his feelings in any way. But one of the things that I know my son did express, I was telling Charles earlier, is when he went to counseling, it bothered him that the counselor didn't look like him. And he felt like this man knew nothing about what it was like to be a Black man and the struggles that he was coming up against, and that he really just didn't help him. You know, it just was somebody else to talk to that was just listening and couldn't really even give any real feedback because he knew nothing about the life that he was from. So I was really hoping that we got more men on the call. I did ask Charles to just, you know, be as transparent as possible today. But like I said, there's two sides to this. So there's our men that are impacted, and then there's our women who, at the end of the day, it is our responsibility as well to ensure that our men get what they need. If our men are supposed to be the head of the household, our leaders, if we are supposed to, again, be led by these same men, how can we be if our men are broken?
Well, think about this too, guys, girls, I guess, since it's all ladies on the on the call. There's
All the pressure.
yeah, it's multifaceted, you know, in a sense where there's some women who were taught, you know, I want a real man.
Mhm.
You know, and in their mind, this real man is one that doesn't show emotion. He's the one that's strong. He's a breadwinner. He's the go-getter and all that. And he's always tough and he's always hard as a rock.
Mhm.
But then, you know, you get the other woman that says, I need somebody that's sensitive, but they don't really know what that means, because when they come across a man that kind of figures out how to express himself, then it comes across as he's whiny or as he's being insecure or he's basically bitching about something. So it's multifaceted. So I don't know, again, if you girls have any experience or if you know someone that has any experience with someone who ended up in a toxic relationship and it was based on a lack of communication or a lack of how to be effective in communication, please talk about it. I mean, that's what this whole platform is all about. This is your voice. Let's go.
I don't want to keep talking, but I definitely have some examples of that. Anyone else?
I've had experience on both spectrums, and I have 3 brothers. So, you want to have a man that's balanced. I mean, you want him to be emotional. You want him to be able to express himself, but you also want him to be able to know when and how to express himself effectively. Because,
And he also has to be made to feel like he can.
right,
How do we do that?
you
How do
have
we
to
let them feel like it's okay with being vulnerable?
you have to start young. I mean, I have my nephew, and you know, just based upon how my brothers were raised, um, you know, it, as the man's man, you got to toughen up. You can't be no punk. You can't. Boys don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
You fall down, you get up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't cry. That's for girls. You know, you go outside, you get beat up. You take it like a man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you, you don't let that bother you. You shake it
Mm-hmm.
off. That's what they tell
Mm-hmm.
you. Shake it off. You're not supposed to have no emotions like that, but you do have those emotions. So you have to you have to let you have to acknowledge that the pain exists.
So
You
for your
know,
nephew, what are you doing differently than you seen was, I guess, put upon your brothers? Like, how are you changing that with your
well,
nephew?
I acknowledge the fact that one, when he falls, I acknowledge that yes, you fell and that did hurt. You know, how do you feel about that? You know, you know, when somebody says something that he doesn't like, how do you feel about that? How
Mm-hmm.
does that make you feel? Express, how do you, I encourage him to express himself, you know, in a positive way. Well, you didn't like how that person made you feel,
Mm-hmm.
but then also on the same note, I'm encouraging him to find a better solution, because a lot of times these guys act out, you know.
And that's the thing too, because we don't really know how to share when we're feeling sad. It comes across as aggression or anger, because that's all we've been
Exactly.
known. It has to be in a masculine way, or what perceived as masculine, as opposed to, the feminine always just crying about it or all that. and that's what we're trying to get by. So when you say start earlier, what happens when you come across someone who's in their 40s, almost their 50s, who has been brought up this way and has carried this way of life with them for this whole time?
It's hard. It's very hard dealing with, like, my ex. Um, he's very emotional. I mean, he will cry at the drop of a hat, but he also was raised with the you man up thing. Now imagine being overly emotional, but being unattainable at the
Mm,
same with the same notion,
mhm.
because you're unavailable, but you're emotional. You still,
That's
that's a
super
tough
hard.
person to deal with also. It's hard to deal with somebody when they're shut down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I want to ask Nika. So I know that you grew up with your dad in the house, um, and you had a wonderful relationship with your father. Were there ever times where you seen emotion from your dad or him show emotion to your mom? Um, like what was that like? You're still muted. Nika?
Okay, next person.
I was about to
Try come
say,
back.
did
Oh,
she
she
walk
dropped
away?
off. Oh no, she's there, but
Yeah, she's still
yeah,
there.
I think she walked away.
Okay. So we'll move on. Um, so we'll even talk about, I guess, the dad piece. So we have these boys that are being raised without fathers, or again, we have fathers that aren't always teaching them the best. Um, where do our men get what they need in order to even know what it means to be a man? Like where do they get this from? We have so many men that are being raised by women in households where they feel they got to be the man. So how do I feel comfortable as a young boy growing up to be soft, to be in touch with my feelings and etc. when I've been put in shoes that are bigger than I can feel? You know what I mean? How do I get to a point as a young man with being comfortable being soft to this mother? I feel like I got to protect. I got to be strong for her. I got to be tough for her. I do think that's a big part of what happened with my son. I don't think that it helped that he watched me in toxic situations. Um, I don't also think it helped that he seen me deal with a lot of hurt from various different people and situations. So I do think he thought he had to be tough for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about this, Nakia, like you have your son who is the oldest. So again, your two children have a huge gap in age. So by the time his sister came around, he was even trying to be there for you with that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm trying to talk out a bunch of emotion because of course I'm tearing up. But these little boys wanted to protect us. They seen us go through so much. So whether it was with the fathers, again with our family issues, etc., how could they ever feel comfortable being soft when they were quote unquote the man of the house? Like we didn't want to make them that, but I'm
Mhm.
sure they felt like that's what they had to be.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Don't think that
Yeah.
there has been a time that my son has seen me hurt, that my son has seen me crying, that my son has seen me working 2 and 3 jobs to just, take care of him, etc. My son at a very early age thought he had to be a man. So now I have this young man that does not know how to express his feelings. And I didn't think that I could be the person that could create that, because of course I'm so in tune with my feelings, I'm sensitive, etc. And I've always been like, so what's wrong? I can tell you recently, I'm going to say probably in the last 6 months to a year, we were playing this game called Let's Get Deep. If you have not gotten it, I'm telling you, get this game, play with your family, your kids, and etc. You will find so much about the people around you that you don't know. And again, even for Charles, who typically isn't a talker, and if you know me, I'll tell you, if it's not about like Taekwondo and credit, Charles not talking. You know what I mean? If it's something he's passionate about, he can go on for hours and it's like nothing. But if it's like something that's deeper than that,
Mhm.
you're gonna get like, hey. So I found out like my son talking about bullying and stuff that he had to feel as a kid. And here I was like, when? When did this happen? Why didn't I know about this? Of course, I go in like mama bear mode. Meanwhile, my baby was holding all of this stuff in. I remember the first time he was going through some things with, like, we had a death in the family. There were some other things going on, a little girl he liked, etc. And a really close friend of his that was a girl came forward to me and said, I'm worried about Lewis. And I was like, well, what's wrong? And she was like, he keeps talking about killing himself. What you mean? And of course, again, what you mean killing himself? He has super mom. I give him everything. I do everything. What are you talking about? How could he ever not be happy or question his existence in this world? Meanwhile, again, there was so much I didn't know, and my baby was holding it in. And I did find out, yeah, my baby was suicidal, and he was having all these emotions that he did not know how to process. And it got to the point where he ended up with, I forgot what version of alopecia it is, but he ended up with a form of alopecia. My baby was under such tremendous stress that his body, his immune system basically started to attack itself. So his hair started falling out. Like, I remember one day he woke up and like from here over his eyebrows just gone. This part of his beard just gone. Eyelashes gone. Part of his hair gone. And this boy that's already dealing with things and having issues and problems that he don't know how to express now thinks he's ugly. Front door. I didn't know what to do. My first thing was like, let me pour into him, let me tell him how fine he is, and etc. And although I was mommy, he didn't want to hear that from me. Where do we go with this?
So, an extension of that, and I'm happy that you brought up, well, not happy, but you brought up the suicidal part, because I actually did a little research and it shows some statistics here, and it talks about the consequences of emotional avoidance or holding everything in. It talks about, it says, part of what makes us human is the ability to feel our feelings and process our emotions. When we're happy, we want to smile and show excitement. When we're angry, our body tenses up, we raise our voice and things like that. When we're sad, we want to cry. And what it says is when we avoid those emotions, it can lead to a number of consequences, including mental health disorders, which, part of what we're talking about. Suppressing emotions can lead to depression, anxiety, but for men especially, it can increase the risk of suicide, as you said. In fact, in a study that was done in 2018, men were so much more likely to commit suicide than women. In fact, it was like 3.5 times more likely to commit suicide than women did. So this is, this is a really serious thing.
Yeah, I had a friend who he was a very young guy who could not express himself, and he ended up taking his life and leaving behind his mother and his grandmother. And you really just could not reach him, no matter how you tried to tell him that his life mattered and that, he was worth it. You just could not reach through to, you just couldn't get through. And it's hard, it's hard when they get into that mindset, that they're not worth it. it's hard to bring them back from the brink of that.
So what can we do? Because again, there's so many men out here that are either womanizers, using drugs, violent, ending up in jail. What do we do to combat that? Again, how do we help as the women? We need our men. We need our men to be fathers. We need our men to be husbands. If our men are in shambles, and again, I'm not saying, I guess, place it all on our shoulders, because there has to be a want there for them to be better, to evolve. What do we do? I can speak for myself. I was telling Charles, I've had a past experience where someone was in my life that was toxic. And instead of going, either this isn't working and separating myself, I became just as toxic. So I will tell you, there were things that were hurting in this person that when I was in my feelings, I brought them up, or I used them, I weaponized them when that person was hurting me. And I can tell you that there are certain people that I've seen, let's say my brothers, etc., where they have entrusted women to share with them whatever has gone on in their past. And if that either breaks up or they get in an argument, then that person then again weaponizes what's been told to them. Can we do a better job of allowing our men to feel heard? And just simply that.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I will confess that my mouth is atrocious. I will never act like I'm an angel at all, especially when I'm in my feelings. Like if you really hurt my feelings, or I think you're taking advantage of me, or etc., I will sometimes go so low that even I've been like, Tamika, you don't have to go that far. But the damage is done. So now here we are damaging each other. I'm not healing, you're not healing, I'm not helping your healing, you're breaking me while, it's just not good for either party. So how do we save our brothers? How do we save our sons? How do we save our spouses? I can say in my own personal relationship that I have tried to do a better job of, when I do pour, remaining silent and just kind of trying to hear him. Because I can tell you there's times where he'll get frustrated because he'll say your favorite thing. Once you got to that point of being upset, you didn't hear me anymore. So anything I was saying, you weren't getting it. You were just so engulfed in your frustration or anger, et cetera, that you didn't hear me anymore. So it'll get him to a point where he'll just stop talking. And here I am like, no, because you, and he's like, it was doing nothing. It was doing nothing for you. And now I'm even more in my feelings because now you done shut down at the time that I need you to give me something back. So I'm working on that. That's something that I'm definitely working on. And again, I hope you guys know, based on our past podcast tapings, I try my hardest to be transparent. I never come off as a person that has it all together and I'm, definitely just, making all the right decisions. That's not me at all. I'm learning with you guys. Again, I want us to be a community of people that are helping in our healing together, and coming forward with these issues. And that sometimes I walk away with notes from what you guys talk about and how you've actually, changed things or thought of things differently. And I want you guys to know that you help us as well. So it's not one-sided by any means.
And that's exactly what executive level is all about. It's all of us working together. We're going to bring up issues, see how we can tackle these issues because of the effect that they're having on all of us. So that maybe somebody else out there who may not be a part of our community yet can listen in and say, oh, I didn't know this was something that I could tap into that's going to help me. So the more voices that we can get here, the more people that we can get to log on and share their experience or their background or whatever, that's just going to make this whole thing more valuable to the people that really, really need it. And that's what this is all about. And this is why we pull you guys in to get some engagement, you know, so
Mhm.
hopefully at some point you may have some things that you want to share, even, you know, that you're passionate about. And feel free, you know, email us, you know, the email address, executive level team. Actually, I just created that one, executive level team at Gmail. If you got like a topic that you want to talk about or hear about or learn about, or just something that you've been thinking about, share that, because that's what this platform is all about. It's not about the Charles and Tanika show. This is about, you know, uplifting everybody, and we need you guys for that too.
I can definitely tell you that healing, there's like no end to that. I'm increasingly moving towards where I want to be, but I'm not there. It's a daily task for me to, you know, rather it's when I'm upset, holding my tongue, expressing how I feel in a way that's not combative, not argumentative, allowing Mr. Pitts to feel heard at times, allowing him to feel. It's something that I'm working on, even with my son. Even with my son, I'm trying to have more conversations where I just let him talk. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm not good at that all the time. I go into mama mode, and sometimes there's more to the story, but I've stopped the story because now I'm so into, and who said what? And they say what to you? Oh, hell no. And now I'm ready to fight, you know, or I'm ready to tell him what he did wrong. Oh, so wait a minute. Let me go back in this story. Let me get this right. So you was driving, and then what happened? Why you was on your phone to begin with when you was driving? You know what I mean? Like, you know? So now I missed the whole rest of the story because I've gone into, see, that maybe wouldn't have happened if you got your butt off the phone, because I seen you on the Facebook, like I go into real mama mode. So I know that it's not easy talking to me all the time.
You know what? And it's not just you or women in general, it's men too. It's just the two people in a relationship. A lot of times it's more about the communication that we don't have, because while one person is talking, whoever's listening is already thinking about what they want to say. So you're not really hearing what's being said to you, and you thus miss the message. And this is where these cross lines come in, and this is where there's no resolution found, is because we're not on the same page yet. So yes, take some time to openly and actively listen and hear. Let that person feel heard, just as you said. And this is the same thing for our men. You know, hopefully that listen later on to this recording, that jump on and say, hey, you know what, I could use some help. What was talked about? Yeah, just a listening ear sometimes. And even if you don't have a response, or even just a calm hand on your shoulder, or just a hug, or just something saying, you know what, it's okay. And because of that, you feel a little bit more comfortable being able to be vulnerable, being able to feel like, okay, you know what, she cares. I really feel like I can open up to her. And that's really what it's going to take. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some consistency. And I think that's the way, you know, we can get started with that.
I did find recently, a friend of Booby's, a dance friend, had left a comment on one of his posts, and I went to Booby and I was like, what do you mean? Why are you checking on your mental health? Basically, like, he thinks something wrong, he thinks something going on. And come to find out, that's a new thing they do. They do like this mental health check on their friends. So I thought that was actually kind of dope. Yeah, and I do like what you said, Kirana, again, about your nephew, just kind of asking him, like, how did that feel? I think that's a needed thing. Again, starting it very young, just kind of letting it be known that your feelings do matter. And again, you are allowed to hurt. So hopefully, again, he will one day grow up to be someone that can communicate better within the relationship. Hello, Diva.
Yeah, because you know, he's starting to experience bullying, you know, and he's in a special ed class, you know, so that's, you know, bullying of a whole different you know, realm.
Yeah.
So, you know,
and
you have
that's
to deal
another
with
thing.
that.
You know, that's a whole nother thing. This is where I talk about where we grew up, where you have people that are going to test you, people that just want to see if you're soft for whatever reason. You know, maybe that's how they were brought up to think, okay, we got to be this super strong, over everything, real ruthless person in order to win anything. And now this is why we end up attacking people who seem like they're not as strong as us. And unfortunately, that doesn't help any of us. And now that's why we have these issues. I can tell you, I have so many students, young people that come in they're being bullied at school because they are not the, the strongest or the biggest person. And this is one of the biggest problems that we have, because this whole bravado thing that we have going on, as far as, okay, you're not a man if you're not this tough, if you don't have hair on your chest or your chin or something, is ridiculous. And I feel like, people are singled out, and people, because of that, are afraid to come forward because of the backlash or the chastisement they may receive just for saying, I don't feel that that's right, or I don't think it should be like that. And this is what we got to try to change the narrative of.
I remember when my son was younger, his grandfather was very, very concerned that my son did not play football. So I guess the things that the boys in their family did was they play football, and that's what makes them, strong boys. And my son decided very early on that he wanted to do things like my son took piano lessons, or my son was the one, if there was something going on at the school, like he was, acting, or he, again, as most know, he like dances. They didn't think that was manly enough. So it was almost like, you better watch out for that boy. He might be gay, because he didn't want to play sports. And then there was a period of time where I became a commissioner of a cheerleading squad for a little league team. And you could see that there were boys that were in it because they really enjoyed the sport. And then you could tell there were boys that were just there because that's what they were forced to do.
Be a man,
Yep.
up, do some push-ups.
Yeah.
So Diva, thank you for joining us. Good to have a superstar in the house. If you're
Absolutely.
just now joining us, we are talking about men's mental health, and specifically have men been taught to hide their hurt. So we were getting experiences from some of the ladies here in our group, hopefully to have some men come in at some point and chime in. But Diva, if you have any experiences with difficulties in a relationship, whether it's with kids or significant other or otherwise, or even a friend, because of their inability to express their emotions, please share that with us.
Yes.
She might be busy.
I know, again, my dad was like that too. If I get any bit of emotion out of my dad, I'm automatically like, what'd you say, Dad? Did you randomly say you love me? That's great. You must be feeling something. No, seriously. Like, these older men especially, they weren't taught to have emotions. They worked. That's what they did. They were a good man because they took care of the family. They brought home a check. They made sure that the bills were paid and etc. And that's what made them a good man. I actually think that I want to introduce or bring out Will Smith's book for us to actually look into that, to possibly discuss. I know he talked about at one point younger, just kind of being addicted to sex, etc. I don't know if you guys know, but he also has this show out right now, Bel Air, that's kind of, I won't call it a spinoff. It's technically not a spinoff, and it's not the same Fresh Prince that we grew up on. It's a little different. But Will very much shared a lot in this book. So there's also like a workbook where he actually goes into a little deeper of his encounters growing up. I think it would actually be something good for us to kind of touch on. He even talked openly about him versus Tupac when it came to like Jada. Tupac, we all knew if you upset Tupac or whatever, he was coming with hit him up. He was letting you know, like, this is how I handle people that hurt my feelings. Where we all knew Will to be the softer, corny guy. The guy that has feelings, the guy that's not cursing, the guy that's not shooting you.
Who talked about that?
He's
Wasn't that like Peppa? Right? Didn't they date like way back?
I want to say
And she said because he
was
wasn't a roughneck or whatever,
Yep.
that she wasn't feeling him, and now look at where he is, and she's feeling all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and this is another example of just women, I guess, being given the wrong example of what it should, what it's like, or what a man should be, or instead of having your own definition of what a man should be for you.
My little sister recently had her boyfriend hurt her. And my mother was talking to her about, like, a guy that loves you doesn't do that to you. And my little sister was like, no, that's how you know he loves you, if he yoke you up from time to time. From time to time, he gonna have emotions that require him to put you in your place. And if he doesn't, then you're not in a real relationship. And that's what my little sister was expressing to my mom. And then of course she was adding, who are you to tell us or tell me what a relationship looks like? And I told my mother, you're somebody who bumped your head a million times. So you're the main one speaking from experience. So you should be telling her that that's not what a real relationship looks like.
Right.
But no, that's what she felt. She was grateful that he loved her enough to put his hands on her.
So that's the generation that we have going on now. It's the hands-on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These young girls don't feel like they're manly enough if they're not putting their hands on them.
But I think that stems from a lot of them not having fathers in their life. So when they do have male attention, maybe my mother got it wrong. That's probably why my daddy wasn't around. He's just showing me that because he loves me. And it's so wrong. And it's so toxic and sad that little girls think that it's okay, first of all, for a man to be putting their hands on them. But the flip side is I always told, my grandmother said, don't put your hands on a man because he just might come across a man that hit you back. So just fact that they are so twisted in their idea of what relationships are and what love is just so bad to me, because you think, oh, if he yoke you up and box you in your throat and pop you in your forehead, it's just a little love. No, that's violence. And they got places for people that like to pop heifers in the head. Like, who does this? And the fact that they actually think that and then voiced it to their mother to say, oh, no, that's just normal.
But again, don't forget. So again, we are right now looking at a generation of girls. Like, so let's say, for instance, going back to our mother's generation, or even the generation before that, our grandmothers. I don't know about you, but I've never seen my grandmother like going off and cursing out my grandfather. I've never seen that. I've never seen that at all. I'm not saying my grandmother didn't have emotion. I'm not saying that there weren't times my grandmother was displeased, but was my grandmother ever in my grandfather's face with her finger and cussing him out and wishing him? No. I will tell you that there had been, I guess, times growing up that when I did start to get into relationships, that I do feel like I at times was forced to be the man. I'm going to say that. And I felt like I was taking on the man's role. Like I at times was the provider, I was the protector, I was all of that. I will say probably now the first time in my life where I've actually felt like it was safe to be soft, to be feminine. There's nothing more pleasing to have some big old scrappy man with these nice arms that's soft with me. You know what I mean? I wish that for people. You know what I mean? I love that no matter how upset he is, he doesn't raise his voice. But that wasn't what I was used to. I can say there's been many of relationships that I've been in where they've talked down to me. And again, like I said, I share openly with you guys. In my very first marriage, that man did everything to break me. And I was a very young girl. I got married, like, again, basically as soon as I legally could. I've practically been married my whole life. But this guy would talk so bad about me or bad to me. I found out at one point he was selling drugs to my mother, you name it. And still to this day, we'll circle back just to kind of see where he can go or see how far he can get. But again, that's rooted in something. These young men, you know what I mean? There is a reason that this young boy thought his thing to do was to tear down a woman or a young girl or whatever. And the woman that he was with before me, he actually got on drugs. And that's how she ended up having or walking away from being a mother to his daughter. I don't know if you remember this, Nikia, but like she left that baby in the hospital and never looked back.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mhm. Mhm. So we have so many different versions of hurt that these men are dealing with. So again, who hurt this man? Or was it her? You know what I mean? Was it her? Um, but now every woman after him now has to suffer
Have
through.
to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, our community, it's the broken home. A lot of things that we have that stem with our male, it comes from the broken home. It comes from that slavery mentality and the 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 things that our ancestors went through. The breaking of our
Mhm.
male,
Did not say
you
that.
know,
The king of our men.
the
Yeah, I
breaking
spoke
of our
on that
males
earlier.
in front of us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
the the degradation that they suffered as a result of it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, a lot of that is still, you know, even though the shackles aren't on our males physically, they're still on our males mentally.
So how do we get our men to the point of accepting that counseling may be something that they need, or having someone to talk to? Again, where do we aid in the rebuilding of our families? Because that's what this comes down to. Again, um, we have a lot of women out here afraid to be submissive. And then, as I've heard many women say, I'm not following somebody that's not leading me nowhere. How do we get our men to be stronger leaders so we can feel comfortable being soft or submissive? And that doesn't mean not have a voice. That doesn't mean, you let him push you around. That means, again, I feel safe and confident in what he's doing so much that I can just sit back and be a woman.
Well, we need more men who exemplify the type of men that you're talking about. I mean, we need
How?
to be we need more men are who have our hue, just like your
Okay.
son. You know, it's not enough for you to see somebody for you to have somebody to talk to in counseling. If the person that you're talking to doesn't look like you and
I will tell you.
you can't relate to
Yeah.
that. See the difference when we were younger, at least I didn't, because I'm a little bit older than y'all. When we were going through school, the teachers that we had were us. They lived in our communities. The faces that we saw were our faces. So when we looked at those teachers and they looked at us, we saw them, you know? So when they told us, you can be whatever you can be, we felt like we could be whatever we could be because we saw that in them.
But we're the same generation that has had a Black president. We're the same generation who was now watching the first woman vice president be of color. I don't think nothing more could say the sky's the limit and you could be anything you want to be than that. It's
But
one
we,
thing to see a teacher, and that's great.
but
But
we
by the
don't have
time,
that. We don't have that. Not to cut you off, but
go
we
ahead, go
don't
ahead.
have that same role model in our upbringing. Yeah, we have that in our we have that in our in our politics right now,
Mhm, mhm.
but we don't have that in our schools. We don't have a lot of minority teachers in our school system. We don't have a lot of melanated role models for us. We don't have a lot of male teachers that look like us
Yeah.
in our school. We don't have a lot of female teachers that look like us in our schools to talk to our kids, telling our children that we can be whomever we can be to
Mhm.
to to buffer, to stand in between. We don't have that like we used to have.
I will say to that, and based on my experiences from when I was young, even my first grade teacher, as you mentioned, lived in my community, the same melanin color as we were. But no different than her, no different than my second grade teacher, who was also of our descent. And also various other teachers that I had experiences with going through school, they were pretty much in the same position that we're in now, where we're just trying to just kind of keep our heads down and just kind of don't upset anybody, because we don't want to lose what it is that we have to have. So we're so focused on not losing that we're not showing other people, here's what you have to do to win. So I think that's where we have to try to switch around, the message that we're giving, because if we're not saying anything, it's the same thing as saying, you can't do that because you're not showing me how I can do that.
See, and that's what I'm talking about. See, I like I said, I'm a little bit older than you guys. So the teachers that we had in school, we didn't have those. I had Karima Amin teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I had the teachers that, knocked us upside the head and told us, hey, look here, melanated child, you in this school because, you're here to learn, but you're not just here to learn because you're here because you're special,
Are we this far removed from the experiences that our grandparents, great grandparents, etc., had gone through with even just being able to go to a school? You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes when I have, especially this time of the year, when we're being flooded with Black history facts, I have my times of reading stuff and actually going, oh my God, that wasn't that long ago. I just sent something to Nakia earlier today about a lake near her and the historic background of how that lake came to be. And it was rooted in a destruction of a Black town, of a Black town that actually was doing well. And I was saying to Charles, that was 1956. Like, both of our mothers was born in 1957. That wasn't that long ago. So the fights that we are in, we're not that far removed from those fights. We got another man on. Thank you.
But
Hi, Donnie.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for joining. So we were talking openly about men's mental health. So our topic is, are men taught to hide their hurt?
No.
Feel free to share your experience, what it is that you grew up with, the mentality that you were instilled with, and how that's affected you going through life. Feel free to share.
Simple answer is no. We're not taught our hurt. We're taught our hurt don't matter.
Okay.
Hiding it. What? I've been yelled at. I've been cried to. I've been lied to. I've been greeted with hugs, happiness, all of that stuff. At the end of the day, you got to pay your rent. You got to pay your bills. You got to make sure everybody around you is good. As a man, you only as strong as the people who are around you, and you got to keep them uplifted. So if you want to hide it as a man, that's wrong, because it don't help the people around. I'm an alpha. I take care of those around me. No one really takes care of me or my upkeep. So I get looked to for, hey, what we gonna do next? All right, what should I do? How am I gonna get from point A to point B? I'm a logistics person. So it's not that I feel like I was taught to hide my feelings, because I have no problem telling anybody how I feel. It's just, it don't matter at the end of the day, because whether the bottom line is met or not is what I've been taught. Just, that's what matters, is the bottom line. Are you taking care of business? Yay or nay? And people get all caught up into the semantics of it, but it don't change the bottom line. So my feeling,
where did that come from? So was that something taught to you by your father? Is that something that you watched happen as you were growing up? Is that something that the women in your life made you feel? Where did you get that from?
So I grew up with a single mother. I lived with my dad for like a year or two growing up, and they had issues. Where I got this perspective from being out in the real world, where like something about me is I lost from my parents. You know what I'm saying? There is no one to fall back on and cry on. I don't have a woman. You know what I'm saying? I got kids that I am a single dad to. You understand? So it's a lot of people say, "Oh my God, you're doing great," and most men would have tapped out. No, most men wouldn't. Most
Right.
men do what they got to do, regardless. Boys tap out. You understand? Like men look at the bigger picture. I don't give a damn about what these other folk think. And quite frankly, yeah, I mean, I'll cry when I cry. If you happen to catch me in a crying mood, Tanika, personally, you saw me cry. I sat on your couch. Hey, it don't matter to me. Like, if I'm having my mood, I'm having my mood. But is the bottom line being taken care of? That's what really matters.
So I'm sorry, if we're getting a lot of background noise. If you're not speaking, if that's your noise, please try to mute your microphone. I don't know if that's you, Donnie, that has that noise in the background, like you're in a hospital or something.
Oh no, it's pretty quiet where I'm at right now.
Okay. Someone's got a loud TV or something happening in
Yeah.
the background.
So, do you think that that was something that was implanted in you because you had a single mother? So I was speaking on, in my experience with being a mom of a young man, that
No, because my single mother sometimes will put her feelings ahead of business. She had great business ideas. It's literally what I got that from is the real world. I had a real slap in the face, like, oh no, this is how it really works. And your feelings, they matter, but your feelings should only matter to your mate and yourself. And it's like when you searching for a mate and whatnot, you still have to live and support the palace that you're trying to build. You got to be a visionary. You got to see it. You know, I'm in Houston right now. I got a nice, big, lovely house. Shoot, I lost everything a couple years ago. You feel me? So I had to sit, and it was when you have no one to rely on, far as emotional outlets, you have to start looking within, and you just realize, damn, I can cry about it, or I could do something about it. And I feel like a lot of men get to that point where it's like, it's not that our feelings don't matter. I mean, it's not that we're taught to hide our, we just understand it don't matter. Gonna put up or shut up.
Very interesting.
can you hear me now? Okay. So I want to tap into the mate piece. So yeah, that is something that's between you and your mate, but we are finding that there are so many men out here that because they have been made to believe that their feelings don't matter, that we have men that are struggling to communicate when they do have feelings, when they are hurt, when they are going through something. How do we get the men who feel like you past that? You still there, Donnie?
In his pocket. Put this in your pocket.
He co-signed exactly what we were just talking about. That's what our men are made to believe. Like they're providers. They gotta suck it up. They gotta, they can't even really talk about it because they too busy trying to like figure out the next move and how to fix things.
Right.
But
The result is the same, whether we were taught to hide our emotions or we're just shown that it doesn't matter. Either way, we shut it down and we make what needs to happen. And that's really what it becomes. So I think that's what we need to try to get past. Because again, there are studies that show, suppressing your emotions and things like that, or feeling like you can't openly express would lead to mental disorders. So that's what we want to talk about and cover today.
so I'm just gonna speak on, let's say, Black men. So we have Black men holding in all this stress, causing mental issues, causing health issues. Like we'll all say in a heartbeat, stress will take you out before anything. So you got stress attacking your body. Meanwhile, we also have our Black men that don't want to go to the doctor. Then we also have our Black men that's gonna die because they don't go to the doctor. And then we're still right back to fending for ourselves as women. So damned if we do, damned if we don't. We're gonna lose either way.
I'm on your side. You're trying to get to the bottom of this thing. I didn't perpetuate it.
Babe, that's what it boils down to. Y'all holding all your hurt. It's bothering your mental. It's messing with your physical. Now we got to fight you to go to the doctor. You don't want to go to the doctor. Or when you finally do, it's to the point of no return.
And so, you know what? That's where this encouragement comes in, where you come in as someone that is different, someone that we haven't encountered before that says, I'm on your side, I'm in your corner, babe. I want the best for all of us. Here's what I think you should consider, and not, give that person time or because this and you think you all that or whatever. You have to, I guess, make that person.
I think we should mute Donnie's pocket.
Okay.
And we can unmute Kwana and Nakia until we see Donnie's face again.
Got it.
And Galaxy Note 8. Is that him?
No, he's over here. He was a Pixel 4. So I'll mute him. It'll get quiet again.
Okay. Yeah, it's his background. That's actually whatever the noise is. So
yeah, that's this one. Over this Galaxy Note 8.
Okay. So is the answer us?
Yep.
I will tell you, when it comes to like certain people, it gets exhausting. Like it's definitely I can help lead you, but I'm gonna need you to be in it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need you to be open to the change. I can't just be pulling you along towards healing, and meanwhile you're kicking and screaming and fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, no, I'm not talking to you directly, although it may seem that way.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I know that's general. It's a general statement. I was sitting here thinking it has to be a team effort. There has to be a meet and a middle point.
Yeah.
You have to understand that this person has come a long way with this type of thinking where you haven't, been subjected to or understand fully. So now you're like, why is this way?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. It's just how it's always been. So you have to figure out, okay, how can we meet in the middle so that we can come to some sort of resolution that helps all of us to grow.
Right. I do think that's another part that I continue to work on, is recognizing that it's a us thing. We have to feel heard. We have to feel understood. We have to feel like our feelings matter. It's not just me.
Okay, so I see another bearded gentleman in our panel here, Mr. Galaxy Note 8. Feel free to share, whatever experiences we're talking about men's mental health, and specifically, have we been taught to hide our hurt? So if you have any experiences that shaped who you are as a man, or the way that you think, or any effects that they've had on your relationships because of that, please feel free to share with us. That's what it's all about.
Hey.
Hey,
How do?
okay, how you doing?
I'm well. I'm well.
Y'all both look good together. I like seeing that.
Thank you. Thank you. So talk to us. I want to hear. Are men taught to hide their hurt? Were you raised to feel as though you were a man and you had to suck it up and you had to deal with it, take it, whatever it was? I
Well,
know. Go ahead.
Well, no, not really. I wasn't raised that way, but I came to the point to where, as to where the point that I had to. I had either two choices, either to deal with it or don't. And I mean, in most cases, it is kind of hard to just accept the fact that there's a change that got to be made. It might not be the change you want to have for yourself, but as far as being a man, you got to, regardless of the fact, whether you got if you got the backbone or you got somebody that's willing to follow behind you to push you to make things better. And if you don't, you're gonna have to do it yourself. You're gonna have to.
No,
I've been through all the ups and I've been through the downs, relationships. I've been through all of that. And and like y'all was saying earlier, all right, man is not supposed to cry. I don't believe in that because I have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't gonna never say that I will never do it again. But within that is also with that crime, as far as the man's concerned, it does strengthen you to the point where, hey, I got to make a move some kind of way. Cause like you said, because if you don't, see, all right, you want, like you say, we don't want to go to the hospital. Like I used to be that way. It's not that I didn't want to go. I just didn't like going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As far as relationships is concerned, hey, it takes two to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to take two to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But
So how are you when it comes to, I guess, communicating? So I know there's been various generations where the role of the woman has changed a little bit. I know when I think back of, some generations ago, there were men that were providers and there were women that their sole job was to be, the caregiver or the homemaker. By the time we got to my grandmother, both parties worked.
yeah,
In this day and age, I can tell you that I try my best to hold it down when it comes to every area of the taking care of a house. So in that case, I guess, is that something what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say demasculating. Like, is that something that's not allowing our men to feel like men anymore?
no, I don't. I really don't think so. I really don't. I don't think it's that. With men, most of us men we just got that mental issue as to well, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and then it gets to the point where they can't. Then it seems like it causes a problem somewhere.
Mhm.
Why we never came to grips with that? I mean, because you got some men doing all that they can, and the appreciation is not there with regards to what they do. So
Mhm.
they are now. So here come the mental situation. Now it's a mind factor. Now, hey, I'm doing all of this here, but it still seems like it's not enough. So what else is there for me to do?
Because
You
there's
know?
women out here that feel like that's what you're supposed to do. Like it's a thankless job, basically. I don't have to appreciate you for being out here being a man. You're supposed to pay all the bills. You're supposed to make sure all my needs are met. I do think that, and we talk about this often, the whole happy wife, happy life thing is wrong. It should be happy both parties. Like both people should have to be,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
interested in the happiness of the other person. It shouldn't just be one-sided.
happy spouse.
Exactly.
Yeah, happy spouse, happy house.
Yeah, but you figure men they mainly focus on not just themselves, but also keeping their mate happy, making things, trying to make things better for them too. But like I said, in some cases, regardless of what a man or how he goes about it, as long as it's legal, it just seems like it's just not enough. And then this one, like I said, and this is where the mental stage come in at because it's a mind game getting played. You're doing it, but there's no creation. You still trying to make things better, but it's still not enough. So now this is where the downfall come in at, because okay, now we all messed up in here. So just, damn, regardless if I do, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. So now this is the situation that we got to deal with. And do we just continue on doing this here, or do we just give up? And if you give up on that, you also give up on yourself. And I'm not going to give up on myself. So, I mean, like I said, this is something that actually needs to be done. This is something that men's got to deal with. We got to focus on this. We got to focus. How would I put that? If we can't focus on our lifestyle, how the heck can we focus on theirs? See what I'm saying? I mean, like you said, it's a two-way situation. If I can't focus for myself, there's nothing I can do for my mate. Nothing.
And that's part of,
because that leaves her. All right, that leaves her holding up every doggone thing that in which, like you said, it's a two-sided thing in which we both should be doing together. But like I said, in some cases it just don't go that way. And then now we sitting in the back asking the same question: why? Why is it going this way? Is it me? What am I doing wrong? Am I doing too much or am I doing too little? What is it? And up to this day of time now, you still haven't, and you're never gonna get the answer for it, because we're still gonna keep on going to the same situation until we take it upon ourselves to focus on, making things better for ourselves. And like I said, if you can't make it better for yourself, you can't make it better for nobody else.
But it sounds like in those examples, communication is key. So
well, that's the main thing right there. Because if you don't have no communication, there's nothing going. There's nothing going without that communication, and that's the truth.
So are you expressing to your partner or whomever, basically, I don't feel appreciated or seen or heard? How do I know that that's something that I'm failing you with?
Well, I mean, you can ask them questions. I mean, am I being appreciated? I mean, do you appreciate some of the things, that I do? And they might say, yeah, but then there's a but that comes in there somewhere. Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing, but what? What else is there for me to do? I'm basically doing everything that I possibly can as far as being a man is concerned. But it just seems to me it's still not enough. So what else is there for me to do?
and so is that question is what we're, part of the topic here, as far as men feeling insufficient, right? So as hard as we work, as much as we try to do for, our mates in the household and things like that, that question is in the back of our minds.
Exactly.
Is that enough? So the question now is becoming, if it's a mental thing, where do you go with that? How do you process that? How do you find out, how to make it to where you don't feel helpless, where you don't feel insufficient, where you feel like you can, be of value and feel valued?
Well, see, that's something like I said, that's something you got to deal with in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Understand what I'm saying? This
Right.
is something that a man, he actually got to deal with this within himself. Once he can come to grips with that, everything else everything else should fall into play.
So how do you do that?
Even if you with or without a mate, it still should fall into play. We
How do you
should
deal
not
with
have.
that?
We should not have to. Now that's another good question. That's a good question.
That's the question. We know what we got to do, and we know we just do it regardless, because that's just
we know, but the question still stands. How do we do it? And the only answer I can come up with that, we deal with it the best way that we know how.
We can unmute Tony.
all right.
That's all you can do. You do it the best way we know how. I mean, this is something that we know we're going to do. This is what we're supposed to do. We do it the best way we know how. You can't. I mean, there's no definite answer for that. There's never going to be a definite answer for that. And like I said, until we can focus on ourselves.
I don't know if I'm always in agreement with you on that.
I don't know. There has to be there has to be there has to be an avenue. I know it's a mindset. I mean, there's a mindset that we've had since we've been brought up. do what you got to do to handle things as a man. That's at the bottom line. You know, that's pretty much what Donnie talked about. You know, the bottom line is just this, is just get it done regardless. So whether you involve your feelings or not, at the end of the day, you got a job to do. That's what needs to get done. And that's our whole mentality as
Well,
men.
see, that's my point right there. That's the whole my mentality. This is something that we gotta do.
Yeah.
This is what we're supposed to do. This is something that we gotta do. This is what, like I said, this is where it all boils down to focusing on us, focusing on ourselves. We got to focus on ourselves. If we want things to be better, if we want things to be right, these are things that we got to do. This is a mind mental thing that we got to deal with. We can accept it and take it in stride or let it go.
So how do we help?
You got a choice. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now you got a choice. I mean, you can either deal with it or you don't. Then if you don't, then where do you wind up at? Now you're asking yourself another question. Well, damn, I choose not to do this here. So now what else am I supposed to do? Like I said, you got to get your mind. A man basically got to get his mental state together. Ain't no if and buts about it. I know it's hard sometimes. Like I said, I'd have been through it. I'd have been through the crying. I'd have damn near stressed the hell out. You know, wondering and worrying about how come things is not going the way that I expected it to go. I had to get to myself. This is what I had to do. I had to get to myself and question myself and ask myself these questions. Is there another way of getting this done? Is there an easier way of getting it done? If I do it this way, is this gonna be what word would I use for that? Is this going to be the upgrade of my life, the upgrade with my mate, the upgrade for the both of us to have and to make things better for each other? Sometimes you gotta be.
So you having these conversations with yourself, with a mate? Ain't you supposed to be having these conversations with her?
Well, you can have them. Well, you can always have them doggone conversations with her. And like I said, in some cases, okay, that mate is able to help you with that. But if you're not with a mate,
okay,
this is something you got to deal with. These are
okay.
circumstances you got to deal with yourself.
All right. So in the event of you being single, okay, but yeah, if you with somebody and you calling yourself the head of the household, you and her need to be tackling everything together.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's a two-way situation. There's never one-sided. There's never known for it to be one-sided. It's a two-way situation. But like you said, if you're a single person, this is something you got to deal with yourself. Okay. Therefore, in other words, like I said, well, going back to what I was saying earlier, if you can't deal with yourself, you can't deal with nobody else. You can't.
That's 100% true. I'm with you on that, because until you have an understanding of yourself and how to deal with things, you can't have a relationship with somebody else. And this is, part of the problem. And I know that you got on and Donnie got on, and there's obviously exceptions to people who, did not grow up with that hide their feelings mentality, because you've expressed it, you've cried, and Donnie's expressed it, he's cried in front of people. So clearly there's exceptions, but there's an overwhelming a number of people who did not grow up with that, who basically are shamed for, are called a punk or a sissy or whatever, for simply expressing the way that they feel. So now they suppress those emotions. And this is what's causing a lot of these mental issues, including depression and, leading to suicide. And this is what I want to, so yourself as an individual that has grown up without these types of issues, or at least not without the awareness of them, what would you say to the person that has these issues, the person that is not in touch with his emotions because he's been shutting them off since he was 4 or 5 years old? What do you say to that person?
Wait, I want to
I would say, don't shut that off. Don't shut it off. I wouldn't ask them to shut it off, except in other words, let me say, don't shut it off, accept what's being said. But in the process of you accepting what's being said, you take it and you put it to use for yourself to make your life better for yourself. All right, you can be that punk, you can be that sissy, you can be all that. Okay, you can say everything you want to say about me. Long as my mental status is correct, I know how to deal with it. I'm also, the more you talk with me, the more you say something like that with me, the more I'm gonna get around that. Cause I mean, it's a put now with that, you pushing me to do better. Why? Because I know I ain't no punk. I ain't no sissy. And I know how I want my life to be. I know how I want me and my mate, our lives to be. She wants it better. I want it better. Me and her communicate with each other. There's no problem, and we should not care what anybody else got to say. We continue on doing what we supposed to do together as one.
And so while there's a few people that have that mindset, as like yourself, how do we get that message to the people who don't?
That what they'll say, like I said, you got to express that to them. Let them know. I mean, like they say, every day they talk about Jesus Christ. Understand what I'm saying? And he's still doing the same thing. See what I'm saying? He's still doing what he got to do. If you're a strong-minded man, like I said, regardless of what negativity a person may put in your head, you take that and you put it to use to make things better. This is how you do. It's not that you try to prove nothing to them. This is something you proving to yourself because this is the move that you wanted to make, not only just for you, but also for your mate. And if she's thinking the same way, you both do it together, y'all's gonna come out on top.
That takes a mindset.
So do you think it's other men that have to be the one to say that? Or do you think, again, that's in the hands of the women or the people?
No, that go both ways. Because
Okay.
they go, it's not like it's not like we're the only one to be going through this, because you got women that go through it. You know what I'm saying? It's still the same way.
Well, I don't know how early you jumped on where I kind of talked about men who have gotten to a point where they find it hard to become vulnerable because they've had experiences with women where maybe they have shared with them, and then they've had those women weaponize whatever those things that they shared with them were. And I spoke on a time where I was in a toxic scenario, and instead of either removing myself from it, or ending it or whatever, I became just as toxic as that person. Yeah. So there were times where, let's say, my feelings were hurt, and instead of diffusing it, it came to a point where I was, again, being hurtful as well in response to those things. Yeah. So I don't think that helps. I do think a huge part of this, I do think is in the hands of the women. Mm-hmm. And that's why, again, I'm so conscious of handling my anger, my frustration, processing it, learning to stay silent at times and hearing him or trying to allow him to feel heard. I know that's not something that I've been good at, especially when I'm in my feelings. But I hope that Charles can testify to that, something where I will literally bite my tongue to the point where it's practically like bitten off now. And I'll be feeling it, but I'm trying to give him an opportunity to voice what he's saying without being in attack mode. And even that, just like being conscious of even the way that I do say, you hurt my feelings or whatever. Because again, when you've come from a place of constantly being in attack mode or feeling as though you have to be guarded, when you do speak from your feelings, they are full of rage. Like, you will not be another person who used me. You will not be, you know what I mean? You come off in a way that will make the average person shut down. Yeah, so if you're already somebody that's having a hard time expressing your emotions, and now you got a pit bull coming at you, you know, and I'm gonna say that, like, that's me. I never come off perfect. And this is what I talked about. I don't know how long you've been on. I definitely will talk about my imperfections, things I could have done different, but what I've learned from being that person. And also, and I say this to Charles all the time, I never want to be that person again. Yeah, I understand. For me or anybody else. I mean, depending on the situation, because it will get to that point where you would get to a certain extent to where you will explode. But I mean, there's a way of getting around that too. There's a way of speaking on it, where, I mean, not being in a hurtful way, but there's a way of saying,
whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever's on your mind, what, whatever making you feeling, on a negative situation,
Mhm,
there's always a way of getting around that, but and still getting your point across. You understand what I'm saying?
mhm.
You still
No,
get
I definitely
you
seen that.
see, so you
Mhm,
get your point across,
mhm.
but you're not doing, in other words, you're not doing it in a hurtful way.
Well, I'm gonna say, I think sometimes when you get two hurt people together, um, sometimes they do more damage to each other than they do healing of each other.
And
Again, because you do come against communication issues, or you do come against either person going, this, I'm not gonna let anybody hurt me again. I'm not gonna let anybody in again. So it's not easy being vulnerable, especially if you're someone who's come from hurt.
yeah, well, that's true.
And whether that be relationship hurt and disappointment, family hurt and disappointment, friend hurt and disappointment, relationships are relationships. Like, I think people forget that when I say relationship, often people think I'm automatically talking my spouse. I
Yeah,
have disappointment that have come from girlfriends or aunts and uncles and etc. So for me, like I said, I've had a lot of hurt growing up and a lot of disappointment growing up.
I know.
So there were times where I would have situations happen in my relationship and it would look so either similar to that situation, or it would, strike a chord, or hit a trigger, and I
Yeah,
would go straight pit bull.
straight, yeah, I know what you're
Straight
saying.
pit bull. I'm trying to take you down, go for your neck, hit you to the ground. Like, that's, and again, that's a lose-lose for both parties. I'm losing, he's losing. And I think that's a lot of what we need to recognize in relationships. It's either win-win or lose-lose. I can't be winning and he losing. It don't work like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
we winning or we losing. Period.
right.
Yeah.
Well, see, but if you got two, like you say, like in a relationship, if two is hurting, if you both study still hurting each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets to the point where there's no way you can find out, try to figure this out and straighten it out.
Mm-hmm.
And my only conclusion with that, just separate.
I would
Because
say I found
because no
instances
matter
where
because the only reason why I said it, because if you're both gonna continue on hurting each other, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of feelings.
mm-hmm.
It's a mental situation, all of that. But like I said, if you both stay just banging heads, just banging heads, and you
Mm-hmm.
just can't get it right, all right, that's a red flag right there. Trying to let it go.
Mm-hmm. And there's often, I'll see in situations where people, like, one side is just not getting what they need and the other side is.
Yeah.
Like you just talked about like the appreciation piece. How long do you think, even as a man, that you're gonna go on having the question, is it appreciated? I'm working all these hours, or I'm working 2 jobs, I'm taking care of the house and taking care of the kids, I'm making sure she got everything she needs, and I still got a question from one day to the next if she even appreciate that. Like, I have men I know where they'll talk about how they work 2 jobs and they come home and homegirl ain't made them a peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, I
And she
know a
been
whole
off
lot
all
about that.
day. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you're right
how
about that.
long is a man supposed to say, well, that's just what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to suffer. I'm supposed to endure. I'm supposed to, make sure everybody else's happiness is the priority. Where do we get to a point where we recognize that we have a responsibility as the women to also ensure that that person's happiness seems like it's a priority as well?
Well, if she's that type of woman, she should already know. The man should not have to question that. As long as he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and she knows this, and she's feeling this, he should never have to question. And she never had to. Yeah, she should never have any regrets about anything of what this man is doing. Long as if it's working for the both of them, she happy, he's happy, they doing things together, it should never be a question on neither
Okay,
side.
so let me throw this out here. There's some things that you've gone through in your life that are hindering us from moving forward.
Yeah.
When is it okay for me to say, I think you need some counseling?
Uh, there's many ways of that. Many ways of that. I'm not gonna lie, 'cause I even got to the point too where I felt that I needed counseling,
Mm-hmm.
really. And now here I'm questioning myself again. Do I really can I deal with this, or do I really need to go and talk to the people to see if they can help me out of a situation?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, thank God I didn't have to, because like I said, I got to myself and I helped myself out of this. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Um I seen some cracks in it that needed to be sealed, which I
Mm-hmm.
know. And I have, I got my ways that to where I might want more than what I'm getting. But I had to come to grips I had to come to grips with being satisfied of what I got now, because it could be worse than what I'm already going through already. See what I'm saying? So I deal with that. I dealt with that. I put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as time kept going on and on and on, I was more comfortable with it. I'm more relaxed with it. My mental status, came down. So I was good. I was like, well, I just keep on doing what I'm doing. They happy, I'm happy, everything is going on. Communication 24/7, no problem.
So I'm gonna say I know quite a few men that I've encountered in my life. Like I said, whether they be cousins, brothers, people I call brother, where I will see literally some traumatic something happen to them. And I see, let's say they're a drinker, I see them
Yeah,
drinking more. If
yeah,
they're a weed smoker, they're smoking more weed. Or if they're a worker, now all of a sudden they got two jobs, they working morning, noon, and night. Everything but dealing with whatever that situation was, processing it and trying to heal from it.
yeah. Because they
Uh,
will do this. They will drink. They would drink to try to get through it. They will smoke to try to get through it. And like you said, they work 2 or 3 jobs just to get through it. But at the
mhm,
end of the day, but see, what they fail to realize and understand is that at the end of the day, you still got that same situation.
right. But
You
that's
still
where
got.
I'll find people where they are almost in this constant state of needing to be high or this constant state of needing to drink. I have one friend, when I tell you I love this man like a brother, and when I say it is not often that he don't have some liquor in.
Because that's the only way he can deal with the situation. He can't deal with it no other way. If he's
He
not
not
drinking, see, if he's
if
not drinking, he ain't gonna be able to deal with it.
well, I was about to say, but if he's drinking, he's also not dealing with it. It's
That's what
still
I'm
very
saying.
much so there.
Exactly. That's why I was
Mhm.
saying at the end of the day, he's still got that same situation that definitely trying to drink himself out of. He feels as long as he's drinking, all right, I can get through this. I can get through this. But soon as you sober up,
Now I need another
yeah,
drink.
yeah, now you need another drink because you still going through the same situation. You're not trying to take control. You're not trying to take a control of the matter to try to make things better. You trying to take the easy way out. Instead of you dealing with it, you trying to take the easy way out. You want to drink, you want to smoke, you want to get high, you want to work 2 and 3 jobs. All right, that's the easy way out for them to get out of that situation. But again, it still goes right back to the same situation. Well, at
And
the
you
end of
know
the
what?
day, you still gotta go through it. You either deal with it, try to do something about it, or let it go.
So as a person that loves them, as their, again, the sister, the aunt, the whomever, how do I help aid them in moving towards even knowing that or accepting there's something broken here, bruh, or whatever? How do I help you? Because like I just talked about, I don't know, again, see, I don't know where you jumped in on the call. My brother, Freddie, lost his wife almost 2 months ago. And if you know anything about my brother Freddie, my brother Freddie is very soft. He's a crybaby. He's a little crybaby.
See, and then we wonder why we get labeled as.
She stepped into that one. Go ahead.
What
But you
happened
gotta see, you
was-
know.
She stepped into that one.
See, this is why we keep everything bottled up.
What I was trying to say was,
Right. Let the record reflect
Mm.
what I was trying. What I was.
he,
I ain't gonna lie. Again, no, I'm not taking that back. My brother is a crybaby. It is. I'm not saying have no emotions.
That's
But-
already, if he's a
Yeah.
crybaby, that's all. If he's a
There's a
crybaby, he's
difference.
already
I was
emotional.
gonna say, but if
There's
you
a
just
difference.
and again, I don't know if it's just me, because like I've said to people, it is something about me that when I talk to my brother in my stern big sister mama voice, he is going to cry. I don't care what it is, he is going to cry like 100% of the time. And yes, usually I'm getting on him because I want more for him. I want better for him. And again, if you've ever had me talk to you in this voice, you know it's me saying like, get it together. So
And all saying, you digging in his emotions. That's why he's gonna cry. He's emotional. He's very emotional. In other words, he's the type of person, it doesn't take much.
no, I don't know if he's like that. I'm sure he not with his homeboys just crying it out. I'm sure everybody he talked to, he not just crying. But I've definitely seen a fair share of scenarios where I'm like,
You know why he's not crying when he with them? I'll tell you why he's not crying with them. Because that kind of conversation doesn't come up. Everybody, they talking about everything else, but what needs to be said. This is why, like if he getting around his friends and stuff like they did,
I see,
that conversation does not come up.
I see what you're saying.
And that's what this
You understand
episode
what I'm
is
saying?
about.
I see what you're
See,
saying.
I mean, like I said, in some cases, long as they dealing with you and you dealing with them, they fine. They're not gonna sit down and try to have a conversation about what he's going through, what's
Mhm.
bothering him.
Mhm.
They're not gonna do that.
And if you know me, I'm a picker. So
No
I'm not
kidding.
gonna just let you, I'm not gonna just let you give me a basic like I'm good. So what you been doing and how you been handling this and what you like, I want to dig deeper. And the deeper I get, when I look over and I'm like, Freddie, hold it together. We do not have time for this. I'm
But
next.
now you gotta find a line where to stop at. You only go so far with that. You don't
Yeah.
keep, cause see, you don't keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. You go so
I-
far, you go so far and then you let it go. You know what I'm saying? Because
I said I was
I mean,
working.
because only reason why I say that because the deeper you the deeper you go into that, the worse it's gonna get for him. You honestly you go so far with that conversation, then let it go. There's got to be a line. There's got to be a line drawn into that. Because if you don't, it makes if you sit down and think about it, the deeper you go into that, the worse it'll get for him. Understand what I'm saying? If you're gonna have that kind of conversation, you ease into that. But when you get to that line, you stop right there. You just don't keep digging.
Mm.
Just keep on digging like you about ready to plant something. No, you you say what you got to say, let it go. Don't be looking for something else to be digging into. Now, of course, I'm gonna cry too. You keep digging in it. Shit. I'm gonna be like, but damn, I mean, is you finished? Now
I said
now
I was
here,
working on myself. So again, I will say that for the men in my family. So that is something I'm definitely working on, whether it's my brothers, my son, etc. I'm still working on.
well, they know the love is there. They know the love is there. They know
I
you love
love him so much.
They know, and they know that you care. But this is why I say you love them and you care about them, like you say you do. Hey,
I do.
There's a limit.
I also hold them accountable. So I think that
we got to be
a
accountable.
struggle. I think that's a struggle too. Because I will tell you, on the men in my life, I call bullshit quick. Excuse me again, etc. I do not want to hear it. Blah, blah, blah. I hold them to a very high standard. My expectations, they are very well aware of. And I know at times when my brother is like messing up, he'll stay away from me because he know.
You know why, don't you?
I know. And he know.
Why?
Pull it
Why?
together.
Why?
Because
Why? Wait a minute. Why you think he'll pull away? Why you think he'll stay away from you?
he don't want to hear my mouth.
Because you're gonna keep digging.
Yeah, he don't want to hear my mouth.
No, but it's not that he don't want to hear your mouth. He know you're gonna keep digging. You're gonna dig deeper into that situation. You know what I'm saying?
It's like I tell my son, like, he'll get to a point where he'll tell me like, okay, Ma, basically. And I'll tell him, you know how not to hear me fussing? Do what I said or do what I asked. You wouldn't hear me still telling you about it or talking about it if you just did it. That's the answer.
So what's a heavy or a healthy level of emotional expression where
You mean
it's not
accountability?
being a crybaby, but it's also not saying anything and just holding everything in? How do you
Where's the middle?
where's the middle ground of where you come to share what it is that whether it may be bothering you or whatever it is, to saying something about it, or so like I said, just holding everything in and then affecting you mentally? Where's that balance?
But see, you don't hold everything in. Don't get me wrong. You don't hold everything, but like I said, there's a limit to what's being said and what's being accepted in that conversation. I mean, you don't hold. I mean, holding anything in is bad for anybody. I don't care how it goes. I don't care how much you hold it in. It ain't gonna get no better. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it out some kind of way. But see, but when you let it out, you ease into it. You just don't just, well, I'm just rolling out the red carpet. Okay, here how all of it go. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't.
So would you say then, because I'm going to say that there's probably different avenues in which to let these things go. Whether it's some sort of activity,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, whatever it is, you go to the gym, you work out or whatever, boxing or whatever,
Yeah.
there's other ways, I guess, to release that.
I can say this. I think more of our men need to know about even things as simple as meditation.
Yep.
What it means to, again, be alone with yourself, your thoughts, processing what it is that you're feeling. I think a lot of us need to tap into things like that.
See, that's what I was telling you earlier. Get to yourself. Sometimes you got to get to yourself.
I know, again, men that go to the gym. I can say for me, when I was doing Taekwondo, when I had a bad day or I was going through something, you knew it. It was a little extra oomph on those kicks, and it made me feel better. You know what I mean? So again, I can say for Mr. CP, I've definitely seen some days where he is a little more passionate with his thrust than others.
It's a thing. I can tell you from all the experiences that I've had and the men that come to my school, and they're reflections of things that I've seen in myself. So whether they're just shoulders all tense and tight because they have to go through life having be hard or tough. So now when I try to tell them to relax, you got to relax your shoulders so that you can be more effective and efficient in your movements. It's hard for them to comprehend that because all they've known their whole entire lives is I got to be strong, I got to be hard, I got to be tough.
Yeah,
and so seeing that in them just says, I've seen that and I know where that comes from, and I can relate to them in that sense because I've said, you know what, that was me, and that's really not too long ago where I'm just now starting to understand, how to relax your mind, how to relax your body, because there are some times when you have to learn how to relax, how to let your guard down so that things can work for you, so they can flow through you.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, in most cases, you got to relax yourself in order to let it flow through. You can't be tensed up. You can't be tensed up all the doggone time. Like you said, I got to be that strong person. I'm like this. I got to be strong. I got to be tough. And sometimes that strongness and that toughness don't work. You got to loosen up somewhere down the line. You got to loosen up.
That's part of the problem, and that's what we're trying to cover on this topic today is where do you go to learn how to loosen up. So as you said, these outlets include,
Yes.
martial arts,
Well,
meditation.
well, first start with yourself.
Mhm.
You got to
Start
start
with
with
what
yourself.
with yourself? What we
You-
doing?
you-
Okay, so I'm by myself. Now what I'm doing?
You starting with yourself. You got, like I said, you got to get yourself together first. You got
What
to,
does
you got
that
to know.
mean though?
That means if you try to get through a situation, all that boxing and the wrestling, and playing basketball, supposed to make you tough and stuff. You still not dealing with any doggone thing.
So
like
how
I
do
said,
I deal with
But
it?
it still boils back to the same thing. At the end of the day, you still going through the same situation. So you got to learn how to loosen up, being able to express your feelings. Let people know. What you feel or how you feeling about a situation. Just keep being, well, shoot, I ain't with this. I'm going to play basketball.
So where's your
I-
safe space? You saying talk about it. Who am I talking about it to? Especially if I don't feel heard or don't feel like my feelings matter.
Or what do you say to yourself if you're saying?
Yeah,
gotta
so if
deal
you
with
just
something
in there
yourself?
talking to yourself, what you saying?
You guys, well, you ask yourself, well, what am I? All right, you ask yourself. I mean, I've done it. I've been like I said, I done did it with myself. I
You
done got
like,
it to,
hey,
to a room.
so sad,
Long didn't answer back, but what I'm saying, you were quiet. I mean, you get to yourself and you sit there, and it gives you time to think. You got that moment to yourself to think about how things is going, how a situation, all right, how this is going, which way I'm gonna go with this here. How should I do with this here? You sit there long enough and you think a while, it's like a meditation situation. When you come out of that, when you feel that, all right, when you feeling more comfortable within yourself, and when you come out of that room, you'll be more willing to express and to and listen to what somebody's trying to say to you. You will be more relaxed with this here. You're not gonna be relaxed just like I said, doing everything up, because like I said, back again, at the end of the day, you still going to the same situation. You got to get to yourself emotionally. You got to get to yourself emotionally and mentally.
So are you doing that, talking within yourself, when you're single or when you're in a relationship?
Oh, you can do that both ways. It don't matter.
So, okay, so here's my issue, I guess. Who laughed?
Who what?
Somebody laughed. So listen, if this man had a rough day and it is something that he is processing, and he go in that office and is in there talking about some self, and self said, I want to know why you're not talking to me.
No, but self ain't gonna say because he gonna be talking to it. I mean, this gonna be within himself. This is the mind thing he's dealing with in his own head. He ain't gonna be standing there talking like, yo, man, what the hell am I supposed to do, man? Now what? You don't be doing that. I mean, it's a mental situation. Everybody needs that. In other words, we all need our space.
So I'm saying, okay, I do feel like he could use his space at times. However, if there is something that is really bothering him, we should be tackling that together, I think.
If it's a situation that he's willing to talk about, yes. If he's not willing to talk about it at that time, you give him a chance to be wanting to share that with you. You don't
see
force
now.
it
I'm gonna be a pest because now I'm like, what's wrong?
You don't see. There you go. See, you don't force it out of him. Give the man a chance to come. See,
Something
give him
happened?
Digging.
Give him
mom okay?
Give him a chance to come to you. Like I said, if he's that type of man, he will come to you to let you know what's going on. He might not let you know what's going on at that moment.
And you know what?
Because he might need that little time for himself. But like I said, once he gets relaxed, once he's relaxed with that, he will come to you and then y'all both can discuss it.
Or now you got one extra problem because now I'm in my feelings because I don't know why he in his feelings because he ain't shared it.
That go both ways, huh? It's not a one-way situation.
Yeah. So now I'm sitting here like, what happened? And he like, nothing. Or I don't want to talk about it. What you mean you don't want to talk about it? So from that word.
He might not say
Like,
he don't want to. He might not say he don't want to talk about it. He might tell you, I will talk about it later, but right now I need this time for myself to deal with the situation. He'll come to you. You come in, if it's something that you're going through and you can't talk about it right there, I know for a fact you're going to sit down and discuss it with him anyway.
Well, that's me. I will say that I'm very open in sharing with my feelings. So when something happens, good, bad,
No
or indifferent,
kidding.
good, bad, or indifferent, I like run to him with whatever happened. So
Yeah.
like, he know all my people at work, he know all my friends, because I'm like, because let me tell you what happened. But that's just me. I'm just really, again, open and, in tuned to my feelings.
No kidding.
Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay. So we want to try to keep it as close to the topic as possible. I know we're getting deep into relationships and sharing and things like
Yeah.
what we want though is
Oh, you
we
paying
talked about this
attention
at
now,
the
huh?
end
Go
of the
ahead.
day is having a safe place to go to, is making that person feel safe, whether it's something that they want to share with you in the moment or if it's something that they'll come to you later about because you said, okay, you know what, I won't press it right now, I'll let you process however you need to, but I'm here. So what that helps that person understand is, okay, I can at some point, and just as you said, when they feel comfortable coming to you about it, is at that time they can do so. And you can stop looking at me like this is not, but it's really about making sure that that person is feeling safe. And that's really what it's been about, because this whole time we've been just have that hard outer shell that we
Yeah.
won't let anybody in
Yeah, that's
because
true.
of that. So it's like,
That's
okay, you
true.
know what? I'll be right outside waiting for you. I'll be here, when you're ready. And that's really, I think, where we should start.
Yeah.
So
Because
whether it's
that is a hard stage to be in, because I'd have been like, don't want no, I wouldn't let nobody in, no kind of way. They be trying to, conversate with me about little certain issues and stuff. And like you say, we play that hardcore, don't want to let nobody in. But like I said, but sooner or later, you got to talk to somebody. You got to find a
Mhm.
safe place. You got to find a
Mhm.
person that you can actually trust, that's just willing to listen and understand your situation. It might be able to help you out with it.
right, even if it's a men's group of some sort,
Yeah.
just some sort of support system that you can, whether it's via Zoom or whether it's in person, you just have a group of guys just saying, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here, whatever is on the table, you can feel free to share. You're gonna have some people that are open to sharing, and if something
Yeah.
strikes something within you to say, you know what, I can relate to that, or maybe you can share that experience, then I think that's a good place to go. So whether it's a group of men or whether it's your relationship or just whatever it is, where you have some place that you can go, where you can feel heard and where you can express what it is that you're feeling without feeling like you're being judged or
Right.
chastised, because you're now feeling like you're open to sharing the way that you feel about some things.
So how do we help with that?
Good question.
You've talked about
And then-
going within, which I feel is a really big thing. It's definitely, it has to be some soul searching, some getting in tune with yourself. So whether that be meditation or just in a quiet place, sometimes listening and processing your own thoughts. More people like you, more people like Donnie there who did express, how he's just open to sharing whatever it is and, being emotional or whatever, but still getting the job done. So if it even starts with you two guys saying, hey, this is what I've experienced and this is the mindset that I've had to have to help me get through that. And here's what I want to share with you so that you can feel like, you're not by yourself in this situation, where you don't feel like you have to suppress what it is that you feel like. Because I've cried as a man, because I've seen other men, and it's something that, is okay to do. But again, without feeling like you're being judged. So if that's, the start of a group that we can put together saying, hey, you know what, here's a support system. There's only a few of us right now, but if you know someone that is struggling with this, whether it's depression, whether they want to admit it or not, just say, hey, you know what, sit on the outside and listen. You don't have to come in, you don't have to comment, but at least come in and listen to these men share, some of the things that they've gone through, some of the triumphs that they had, after going through a life of just feeling like I can't express it because people want to talk about me.
So I'm going to ask, when you talked about the times that you were comfortable with crying, was that you being comfortable crying alone? Was that?
Oh, yes. I was alone when I was doing that.
Okay. And Donnie, you spoke on the times where like you were on my couch and you were crying to me. I guess it's a little different because again, you're my cuz, you know what I mean? So we were just openly talking and expressing and feeling, but for let's say whatever woman is in your life, How do you get to that point of vulnerability or feeling comfortable with sharing to that degree with the woman that's in your life? And how
That
can she help
is,
you to feel like that?
that is a good question. I wish I had the answer to be perfectly honest, you know what I'm saying? Everyone, me, I guess I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for me as a man. It's like you get what you give. And certain things, like actions speak louder than words. So the moment, you know what I'm saying, you could say what you want to say, right? But the moment a woman shuts you out or shuts me out, it's like I interpret that as I'm insufficient somewhere, somehow. If we're speaking strictly in a relationship, like couple window, for example, I had a girl, she tells me all the time, I love you, you're the greatest, this, that, and the third. And it's like when I ask you to actually put something up or make a sacrifice, it's like, oh man. Like, for instance, I had gotten out of a bad situation some years ago where I lost everything. And I told the girl I was dealing with, yo, I'm about to bounce back. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be all good. And she was like, well, I don't wanna not have nothing. You know what I'm saying? I wanna move smart. I wanna have, you know what I mean, a deep savings when I move out from the situation that I'm in. And it's like, damn. So time goes on, I get my own crib. And I actually had space to, like, when I'm shopping for this crib, I think, yo, I'm gonna have space to accommodate this woman. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, check. I get back, I go back to Shorty. It's like, oh yeah, but I'm still not ready for. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. But you're saying so how you expect me? And now, like, the position that I'm in life now, I'm on a major up. You know what I'm saying? Like, from where I came from, I got a huge house right now, all to myself, 2-car garage, lovely weather, living in Houston. You know what I'm saying? I'm a single man. I own my car. I don't put payments on the shit. You understand me? Like, so when short, it's like, all right, so what's your hang up now? Well, you treat me so. It's like, I haven't treated you any kind of way. I'll let you know this is what's available. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just gonna give you anything. You got to do something. Like, so it's a good question. I need to feel safe and secure.
So
And it's like women need to feel safe and secure. I need to feel safe and secure that you're not gonna vilify me for being like, listen, this is what needs to be done. I don't want to hear that other shit. I'm telling you, this is what needs to be done.
do we believe that, again, it's projected that men are supposed to be only people sacrificing, giving, doing?
To in a major extent, yeah. From my personal experience, like, women don't sacrifice; they make sure they get theirs on the back end. I don't see. I do not see no woman like doing something just because. And
Mm.
to play devil's advocate, there ain't too many men out there doing shit just because. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all want something. And my thing is, when the somethings are defined, it makes life much easier. So what do you want? What you want from me? And a lot of people are scared to say what they actually want due to rejection. Like, we come up
That's
from
true.
A
poor,
fear of
from,
rejection?
That's true.
due to rejection, period. You know what I'm saying? Yo, it's not so much the fear of rejection. It's easier to, you know what I'm saying, go out on a limb. I mean, it's easier to just keep doing your norm every day, knowing exactly what you gonna hit, than, you know what, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take a real risk. Like, man, sometimes if you comfortable, like me personally, I'm comfortable. I don't need to take any risk. And I will live comfortable the rest of my days. I work a pretty decent job. You know what I'm saying? My pay increases at such points. You know what I'm saying? I could travel the world. I don't need to take any big risks, but to get to where I really want to go, I kind of do. And
Wouldn't it wonderful to be able to share in that with somebody?
absolutely, absolutely. Like that's like this is my problem right now. To be perfectly honest, is that I feel like I do all the work,
In the
and
relationship.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it's like shorty, the one shorty, this last girl, she that I dealt with, she was like, yeah, when you get your shit together, yeah, I mean, I come out there. It's like, hold up, bitch. Excuse my French, but you mean to tell me I gotta buy everything? I gotta lay the house out. I gotta do every. It's like, yo, dude, I don't mind paying for everything because the way I'm looking at it is, I'm not looking for a roommate. I mean, we ain't gotta go halfsies. I'm not looking for a roommate,
Mhm.
but a woman's touch is needed. Motivation is needed. Like, if you ain't gonna be my mom, what is you here for?
And I know that you even again expressed that you are a single father.
Yep.
As a person who again is right now parenting full time, wouldn't a woman's touch be even just that and much more helpful
That's
in a
what I'm
situation?
saying.
Um,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
so I guess again, this brings me back to our topic. So in these scenarios, you basically said what it is I felt, what it is I needed didn't seem to be of importance.
Exactly. What it is I feel, what it is it's not important. So you take care of your family. You know what I'm saying? On some, like, I heard the gentleman speak a minute ago, and I kind of agree with him, but then again, it's like it's hard to agree with him when it's like you go to the space of I gotta focus on myself. And then it's like in all these years, you don't know who you are. You ain't figured, you ain't looked in the mirror and just said, who am I? You ain't gotta
Mhm.
focus on yourself, you gotta focus on your mission. What's your mission? And when you completed your mission, are you without purpose? Because I know who I am. And that's no disrespect to the brother. I'm like kind of
I hear
empathizing
you.
with him.
I hear you. I
You
hear
know what
you.
I'm saying? Like I feel like I've spent enough time focusing on myself. And at the age I'm at, especially having that single parent mind state, it's like, yo, I pour everything into my children right now because not so much I feel insufficient. I need to set them up to understand. Look, it's not about you. It's not even about me. Like, I'm so far ahead in my brain, I'm preparing for my grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? And they ain't even at sexual age yet. But it's like my whole mission is to, you know what I mean, grow the family, put family
So, but it
values
sounds
back.
like your whole mission is to provide for them.
No, that's the easy part. That's the easy part.
Okay,
The
break it down for me.
See, that's where a lot of people get it twisted. You know how many men got money and like cry at night? The providing ain't the hard part. The seeing your vision, the having someone else see your vision and live your vision. That's
Mhm.
the hard part because everybody's an individual. So when you like an alpha, it's like you want to lead. So when you're leading, you have to, you know what I mean, somewhat conform to the crowd a bit to make up for insufficiencies. You got to make up for your where you're short. and you got to make up for where everybody, you only as strong as your weakest link. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to even put it in terms of how I am with my kids, yo, my son's 11. He made dinner last night. You know what? You know what I told him before I went to work? And I went to work, no bullshit, at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, yo, son, you on your own tonight for dinner. It's all in there though. But I've taught him how to cook. I told my exact words, yo, you might want to take that chicken out the freezer. I come home, dinner's made, prepared, dishes washed, all of that. I taught these kids all of that. They know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that, but I don't have a woman to do that. And it's like, damn. And it almost puts it like, well, what are they for? In a certain way, like, shit, my kids cook for me. What do I need? Like, I can go buy a woman, like, for real, it's easy to buy a girl.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I think there's a lot of women that feel similar too. If you aren't adding to my life, I don't need you. If you either coming around and I'm gonna be exactly where I was, or I'm gonna be worse off because now again I'm carrying the weight of you, then what's the point of having you around? But this is where I go back to, I guess, communicating and making sure that what it is that you need is being properly communicated. So again, if you are in tune with your feelings, Donnie, and you are coming to a woman being very transparent with what it is that you are needing, and they aren't fitting the bill, then of course you got to do what you got to do. But I do think that sometimes we do have situations where these men don't even know how to communicate what it is that they are in need of. And we have a lot of people that are settling in situations. We have a lot of people, again, that are just, again, sticking to, I guess, what they believe they're supposed to do in their role. And it's failing both parties. So I guess in your example, if you've communicated to that person, those last two people you were talking about, what you needed, and they haven't been able to, again, comply, then that's your answer. That's not it. But I don't know.
So just for clarification purposes, and this is a question, not a statement.
Okay.
We're talking about how men's feelings are often neglected, correct? Okay.
By them, especially.
Yes. And the thing is, there's no space to, like, this is the hardest part about being a man. Like, my dad always told me what it takes to be a man. It's not how many women you lay with, none of that. It's taking care of your responsibilities. And then when you become a grown-up and you find out what your responsibilities are, because you made your responsibilities. Whatever you did, you understand there's consequences to everything. Like, you buy a house, you got to pay all the bills that come with the house. You got to maintenance the yard. You got to, you know what I mean, pay your taxes. All that, like, now it's your responsibility. That was your dream. You got to take care of the responsibility. The hardest part for a man is switching modes. It's like I said, the providing part is easy as shit. We can go out and get a job, make some money. We can buy something, sell it for more expensive. It's switching modes to, yeah, all right, I'm direct tunnel vision. I'm about to get this money. My son, he's having a little emotional fit in school because the teacher called him too many times and he sees his dad, you know what I'm saying, get upset. And I got to reel myself back in, but I also got to discipline this kid. Like, that's the hard part. It's switching modes from straight up militant, let's get this shit done, to, damn, I got to be soft. I got to, you know what I'm saying?
So in the spirit of transparency, again, you've talked about losing of your parents. You talked about, again, even the situation that led you to being a single parent is obviously some trauma there or some situation there.
Yes.
In dealing with all of that, how's your mental health? Because again, all I keep hearing is going, because I gotta do, I gotta make this happen.
Mental health
Who
is
tends to
fantastic.
your mental health?
My mental health, honestly, is fantastic right now.
Is that as in this moment, today? Like,
That-
what does that mean?
right now, as in, I feel so free. Yes, these are my issues I'm having in
Mhm.
relationships, but I understand the right woman will be there for me when the time comes. I do understand. So
So-
it's not that, but my mental health is good because of my relationship with God. And I understand how God works. At the end of the day, when you realize what God is and what the devil is, it's like, oh, all right, even when you go through heavy stuff, if you just calm down and remember how God actually works, you can work literally through anything. And I used to wonder, like, what do you mean when I go to church or I hear the old heads say this? And it's like, yo, get right with God. It's like, so I'm supposed to look up in the sky and talk to some imaginary nigga up there and he's gonna grant all my wishes? It's like, no, that's not how God works. But when you really take time and understand, it's a reason like why you gotta pray so much, why you gotta thank God. You thank God to get the things that you already have improved. You think, you know what I'm saying? Because how the universe works is making requests. That's why you pray so much. You pray, and the thing is, it doesn't discriminate against your request. So when you,
what would your recommendation be for someone who isn't religious, but maybe they are spiritual? What would you recommend for those
I'm
people?
not religious at all. Well, that's not true. I'm Islamic, but that's the religion that I've chose. But overall, like if I had to say more, I'm more spiritual than religious. Like I don't go to the mosque every Friday for Juma. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like but my relationship with God is just great. So my advice is to really look at what it is that you want in life. And truly, when I started becoming successful, and you seen me at my lowest points, so like low, I'm doing pretty well, and everything's just getting better and better. You do understand the devil is doubt. That's the devil. The devil is doubt. And once that's why faith is such a big thing in whatever religion you want to paint. Literally pick a religion, it doesn't matter.
So
Faith is the number one thing. So
let's go
doubt
back
is the devil.
with the situation with your parents. So again, you're saying I lost both my parents very close together. How did you grieve that? How did you process that? What helped you in that? And I guess what would you recommend for someone who's going through, let's say, grieving or not, dealing with loss well? What would
How
be
I dealt,
your go-to other than religion? So again, let's set a religion aside, just under the assumption that everyone isn't religious.
okay. I did have some very supportive people. Um, even though I spent a lot of time by myself, there were some very, very supportive people. And the best way, honestly, this is the craziest shit because I was also, full disclosure, I have Crohn's disease and it was kicking my ass. Like legit, soon after my parents died, I wasn't sure if I wasn't far behind. Like I was down to like literally 100 pounds. It was bad for your boy.
Mhm.
So literally one day I was like kicking it with my cousin or whatever, and how I really got through everything. It was the turning point in everything. It was like, yo, did you talk to your parents? I'm like, huh? I'm like, nah, I ain't been to no grave site. It's like, nah, but did you like talk to them, let them know, have your peaceful moment with them? So I had a private conversation with my mom and my dad, and legit, I started feeling better after that. Like physically feel, not just mentally, like I started healing like all the way, like head to toe. And that was the biggest turning point for me, like, cause I ignored it, truth be told. I ignored the fuck out of it. Like, it's like, yo, they gone. It is what it is. Gotta keep living, gotta keep going, whatever. You know what I mean? What's gonna happen is gonna happen. And I had to have that moment in which I didn't even realize I had that amount of grief on me. And I just had a moment where I talked to my mom, talked to my dad, like, yo, I'm all right.
Did you have a breaking point, a snapping point? Because again, I think that's what we are finding in our men is that they bottle these things up. They're not processing it effectively. They're not doing it in a way that's productive, again, or they're trying to either push past it or, again, occupy their time or, again, use drugs, alcohol, etc.
Coping mechanism.
Yeah, the cope. Was there a moment where, I don't care if it was something small or whatever, that you exploded or you had a moment of rage or anger, even if it was by yourself? Was there a moment where
I
that
wouldn't
happened?
say rage or
The break.
anger. My breaking point, I guess I'm just a touch different wired. My breaking point was more or less sitting there. I had this bum ass roommate, and like he wasn't worth a fuck. Like, and I just look, I just felt I wasn't raged. I was more disgusted with myself. Like, nigga, he is like a step up from a functioning crackhead, and like not even a good functioning. Actually, no, functioning crackheads are actually useful. This fucker was useless. Like, and his mindset was messed up. Like he was just a little, I wouldn't call him Jack Boy because he wasn't tough. He would steal, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking like, here I am, I'm selling weed, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world, but for far as what I'm put here to do, it didn't fit into what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's just like, I'm selling weed, I'm playing the block, nigga, I'm 130, 140 pounds. You know what I'm saying? I'm all the way out of my lane. Like, and that was my breakup point. One day I just sat there, I was like,
What am I doing?
you ain't supposed to be doing. I was just disgusted. I wasn't mad. I was just literally, I felt disgusted.
And that was
That
your
was my,
aha moment.
yeah, my aha moment was like, nigga, you living like this? We better than that. Like,
Right.
I didn't even have a point where like I snapped on anybody. It's not me. I'm a nonchalant, cool person. But I genuinely felt disgusted with myself. Like, ugh, nigga, what is you doing? Like, we don't do that. Like,
Gotcha.
our peoples don't do that. Like, how, son? Like, is it that bad? Like, when you ask that question to yourself, like I'm sure you've had a low point and your homie asked you, is it that bad? But when you really ask yourself, damn, nigga, is it that bad? It's like, I can't go out like that. And then, you know what I mean? Started making my moves, and I've been on the up, like, and legit
Good for
on the
you.
up.
Good for you. I can stress, and I know we're like running low on time, but I can't encourage enough when it comes to our men that you find someone that you are comfortable in being vulnerable with. And for our women, that we allow our men to be vulnerable with us. I do encourage doing whatever it is that is going to help guide you in your healing. So whether it's reading, meditation, religion, counseling, whatever helps in moving you forward in your healing process. There again, there's so many broken men, there's so many broken women, and we are just, if anything, breaking each other more instead of helping to move us to a place of healing. I try to be conscious of the things that I do that, could cause harm mentally, physically, et cetera, to someone. And that we, again, like I said, as women are conscious of that. Our men have a struggle, a constant daily struggle. And I'm not saying that there aren't bad men out there or bad women out there. There are. And again, I will tell you, when talking to my men that I know and love, I hear a lot more stories of just downright treacherous women, or not great mothers, or not great, again, women's side. Because I think of what we hear more than anything is about the men that are dogs, the men that are abusers, the men are womanizers. And we forget that there's women out here that aren't who they're supposed to be either. I think that we both have a job to do. Whether it, again, is with our romantic partners, with our brothers, our sisters, our uncles, etc., that we pour into each other, and that we allow, again, the people in our lives to feel heard and important, and like they have a safe place. That's a place. Did anybody else want to add anything before we wrap it up? I can't tell you how much I love evenings like tonight. This was something that helped me. I hope someone else on this call got a piece. I will tell you, for some reason, I love it a little more when there is an engagement of both men and women. Of course, we as women, it's always great to do some girl talk. And I know sometimes, babe, you're the only guy at times.
Thanks, Donnie.
Right. I was gonna say, because Donald, the other person dropped off. But I didn't think about it. We had two Donnies. But I can't tell you enough how it does help me to hear both sides. It does.
It's important that we hear both sides. Unfortunately, I finally just got a break. I'm still working. I balance. I'm like a great juggler, but it was like cool when I got a chance to listen in, like here and there. I heard these things, and I just want there to be a clear understanding. Everybody to just stop beating themselves up so much. That's the number one thing that, like, I had a friend that I've been their, I guess, anxiety. I wouldn't say coach, but when they had going through serious anxiety, they called me to, I don't know, I'm like their fucking blanket or something, like, thing that calms them down or whatever. But the thing about it is, they would just go through so many different scenarios. In each scenario, they fight themselves more so than anybody. And a lot of us men do that. And it's like, we beat ourselves up. We beat our women up. We beat everybody up. And it's like, a lot of times, the shit didn't even happen. Crazy stuff didn't even happen. It's just a scenario. It could.
The fear of. Yeah.
So we got to learn to take it easy on ourselves. I have a really close friend that's just like, she did some nasty things, some bad things, and she, to this day, and this was years ago. We're not even talking like she did this shit a few months ago. And I was there when she did these awful things, and she still hasn't forgiven herself. And you can hear it in their conversation, and it makes relationships terrible, because it's like waiting for that karma to come back on you. It's like, relax. It's not even, nobody thinking about it no more, but it weighs on her. So
see, what happens even in those type of scenarios, we'll have those people in a relationship that'll get with somebody who also is dealing with their own battles and struggles, and then nothing gets resolved. I can't tell you enough how I've made my healing a priority, to the point where, again, I will cut off anything that is interfering with my healing.
Are you still healing today, or you do consider yourself healed?
Oh, I'm nowhere near
It's
healed.
ongoing.
It is definitely an ongoing thing.
Sort of
Um,
like an NA thing, like for life,
Yeah.
you're always a crackhead.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely having some tough conversations with myself on the part that I played in whatever situations and scenarios, the things that I can do better to be a better everything, better soon to be wife, better mother, better grandmother, employee, brother, I mean sister, etc. I don't know if you heard the part where I was talking about my brother, and how I kind of like am hard on him at times, and he's just really, really soft and emotional and etc. So even how to communicate in a way that allows people to feel comfortable with being open without feeling as though I'm going to come down on them, which again I can be known to do. If I love you and I really am like vested in your overall success and well-being, etc., I can become extremely passionate about where I'd like to see you going, or etc. So much that I may want what I think is best for you more than you want it. And sometimes people aren't ready to hear or ready to make those moves. And I think sometimes it may help if I kind of just move them along or push them along. And sometimes people just aren't ready, or even ready to hear those things. So, yeah, I'm definitely a work in progress. I'm nowhere near healed. Um, but I like to think that I am continuously, gradually moving in that direction.
That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you are working on it, and that is something I would like to get out to people. Like, you're never done building, and you're
Mhm.
building or you're destroying. Sometimes you gotta destroy.
Mhm. And
Like,
start from scratch. Yeah. Tear the
yeah,
whole house down and build it from the foundation up.
you
Yeah.
might not have
Because
to tear the whole house down, but you might have to knock out a few walls and get to
that's
something.
the thing. We don't recognize there's so many things that, again, we've been taught that are wrong. Life has taught us that are wrong. Things that we've told ourselves about ourselves that are wrong. It's a lot of just, what is it, reprogramming,
Mhm.
that has to take place in order for us to become
Mhm.
our best selves at times.
And that's basically the basis of this whole episode is how we've been programmed. So I understand that you are one of many exceptions to what it is that we're talking about in the topic of this podcast. But it is, I am very happy to have another male voice on this show here, so that we can have, even though it's a different perspective, but you still shed some things. So even when you
Yeah.
mentioned that you had empathy for the other Donald who talked about getting in touch with himself, where you were like, well, how come that's just now a thing? Where, and I'll tell you, there's so many people who grew up, whether they were putting all their energy into something outside of themselves, whether there was
Mhm.
distractions or something else like that, to now it's like, okay, well, what about me? Who am I? That's really a thing. And so that's who we're also trying to reach out to, because again, these are people that have been affected, because they haven't been taught or shown how to figure out who they are, or been taught who they are. So now they're just now learning, or haven't learned, or still have yet to learn how to go within and figure out who they are, so that they can get to that mission that you talked about, which is what it's all about. And so until that happens, we need to basically figure out a way to have these guys come in and have somewhere to start. It's a starting
Mhm.
point for a lot of
Well,
these men, just to
something
say,
that's helped me out a great deal, and I apologize because I came in super late, but it's leaning into yourself. It's because I'm comfortable with who I am. I know who I am. And a lot of times I'll deal with people and I'll say something with a straight face where it may seem like I'm just having this grandiose idea, but I've already thought it out. And it's like, I'll lean into what it is. It's like, I don't run. I am super honest. And I learned along the way, trust me, I've taken my licks in life. It is best to be honest with yourself first. And it's
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
that's why I said my
Mhm.
low, it wasn't a rage, it wasn't a snap, it was damn, I felt disgusted. Like, is
Mhm.
that what we do now?
And you know what? That was probably a moment of clarity where you just had a shift in your mindset to where something was acceptable before, or you just something that you just put up with, to now it's like, what am I doing? And so
Or-
that's that snap that just happens where the shift now hits.
Or at times we got to remind ourselves who the F we are. You know, that too. You know what I mean? I definitely have moments where I'm like, I'm Tamika Crockett. The hell? What am I doing?
Right. That's
Yep.
what's like, hold on, son, you don't even do that. And
Mhm.
like the thing is, I'm truly a leader. And the thing is, I didn't realize how much of a leader I really am until like when you start seeing people come to you like, yo, what's up? I came to you for advice. You supposed to know. It's like, nigga, I legit don't. Like, I really don't know right now. I don't have all the answers, but
But
it's
there's a
okay.
gift.
It's okay not
There's
to
a
have all the
gift
answers.
in being a person that can figure things out. You know, I had someone reference me before as being resourceful. I have this knack for figuring things out. And that is something that everybody don't have. There are people that come up against things that are like this in comparison to what you have that's like this. And they're sitting there just lost, don't even know where to start. Whereas you may be a person that jumps in and just, I need to handle this and this is where I start and let me figure this out as I go. There's somebody there that's basically paralyzed by something that's way more minute in comparison to what you have going on. And that really look at you like they don't even know how you making it.
It
Trust
could
me,
be
that's a real
minute.
thing.
It could be minute, but that's because like a person like myself or you who is talented at that, you know how to make things simplified. So this sometimes when your house is cluttered and just looking crazy, it's like, God damn,
Where do
it's
I
about to
start?
take hours. And
Right.
yo, I'm gonna start in
Where do
this
I start?
corner. And then you look
Mhm.
up 2 hours later, your house is damn near spotless. But it's like you took this grand task and broke it into smaller tasks that were
Everybody can't
doable.
do that. Everybody can't do that, especially in your age range. Again, that's just something that you either have in you or you don't.
Has to be doable. Logistics, practicality, that matters to me.
Mhm.
My cousin taught me that though. Like,
Mhm.
because I was talking to my older cousin Ian, and he was like, as I was telling him my grand ideas, he was like, yo, son,
Mhm.
is that even doable? I said it is. He said, nah, son, you gotta get practical and then build on your practicality. And that's when things started really, going well for me, is because once I broke things down even more to like, oh, this is simple. Like what is simple to me, but it's actually complex to someone else. But it's like, oh,
Listen,
that's what makes me special.
there
ah,
are
okay.
so many people, Donnie, I want you to keep this in mind. Like when you talk about being a single father, there is a man out here right now that has a kid or kids in not ideal situations that do not even know where to start. You know how many men say, I guess they'll see me when they're 18, rather than fighting it out because they don't even know where to begin. When you talking about you now live in Houston, there are many people who have sat here with this dream of starting over somewhere else that have never taken one step towards actually doing that. There is a certain level of strength that takes to do that. Nakia on the line many years ago, single mom, all by herself, packed up her house, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and started from scratch. That's no easy task. Everybody can't do that.
It's not. It's not
You
easy
know
at
what I
all.
mean? So again, something
But
that
it's
may
doable.
be, it is
Mhm.
absolutely doable, but
Not easy,
again,
but it's doable.
for someone out here, that seems too big of a step to take. For someone out here, they don't even know where to start and they don't move because they don't know where to start. That's what I'm saying. Like, I need you guys and people like you to own what that says about you as a person. Um, that's not for the weak at heart, especially as a single father, to uproot what may be normal to you or what you've grown accustomed to as far as, location and start all over again. That's not an easy task.
Mm-mm.
The unknown is scary as hell.
Not even the unknown, like, yo, so you think about the thing, you think about what could go wrong. When I was leaving Buffalo, you know how many issues I had?
That
I-
is the unknown though.
Oh
Whether
my
it's, I don't know
God.
the streets, I don't know the neighborhoods, I don't know the schools, I don't know a
That's
ton
the
of
easy
people.
part. I'm talking about actually leaving the city.
Mhm,
My babysitter backed out on me.
mhm,
I got sick, got an eye infection. I mean, like all of
mhm.
this, and then like once I got through all of that shit, it was like, damn, that was I felt validated once all the dust settled. I was like, all right, I did the right thing.
Mhm.
But then
Mhm.
there was just so much shit happening. Like,
Listen, I still feel like that's rooted in the unknown. Even if you're saying the babysitter, blah, 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 that's the unknown. Going somewhere and not knowing how you're going to figure it out, but still figuring it out.
oh yeah, no, I figured. I told Shorty, I said, I'll make arrangements. It's good. Don't even worry about it.
Mhm,
I didn't know how I was gonna make arrangements. I
Mhm.
called everybody and
mhm. But again, the art of figuring it out is not something that everybody has. Everybody has. Nakia, I can testify again, Eric wasn't that old when you moved down there. Then while you were down there, you had another kid, you had to figure it out. Like that right there, that's a skill everybody don't have. People break for less. It's people out here committing suicide for less. You know how many times I hear mothers talk about how they, it's just too hard being a mother and blah, blah, blah. And those are the women that are on the bridge. Or those are the women that are dropping their kid off at the hospital and walking away. Or abusing the kid or whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Staying in the fight is no easy task. It's not at all. And this is why, again, I keep wanting to have these conversations that are rooted in mental health. Our
Mhm.
men, I think, are the foundation. I think the women, again, that all ties together.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the men as far as, again, the relationship is concerned. I'm talking about us as mothers of men. I'm talking about us as sisters. I'm talking about us as even daughters of men, having the ability to even show compassion and empathy towards our fathers that had mental struggles that we didn't really fully grasp growing up, where they failed us and disappointed us, or etc. Or even the hurt that we had that comes from that now is trickling down to these relationships that we have with these men. Like I said,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
So you have an adult son now.
Mhm.
Love it. Great kid. How do you have these conversations with? Because he actually falls into this. Like he's a grown up now. This nigga actually has a whole little body running around somewhere.
Mhm.
She still got that kid.
Thank you.
But like, how do you have these conversations with him? Like, because he like needs to be in the room as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or is these conversations? Because what don't you feel like that would be therapy for both of you?
We do have these conversations, and yes. He wasn't able to be a part of the podcast, unfortunately.
Not the podcast. I'm just saying, just in general.
But yes,
in general.
we definitely have these conversations. Yeah. Again, I'm learning even a lot on how to deal with him, how to allow him to feel hurt. It's something, and again, I don't know if you missed this part where I talked about how I have to take time when he is pouring to just listen and not come in as the strong mom on how can I fix it. That's something that I've just recently in the last couple years really learned. I'm a fixer. So no sooner than you probably get 2 sentences in, my mind starts figuring out like, how can I take this away? Or how can I get ahead of this? How can I take care of it, etc. Now I'm more so learning to just hear him
So
out.
how does he help you with that? Not Louis, Charles.
I give her plenty of practice. I know that there's times that she wants more from me that I'm just sometimes just not at that moment able to give to her. So she has learned to be patient and understanding as to, okay, I can't quite what's the word, articulate what it is that I'm feeling in this moment. There's a lot going on in my mind or otherwise, or just a lot happening throughout the day. But she's become patient and knows that at that point where she stops pushing, that's when I'll come and say, hey, here's what was bothering me. Here's what was going on. Here's what I was thinking. And now let's talk about it. Let's, come to some sort of solution or resolution about it.
My answer is a little different. I'm going to say that you help me in the sense of, one, you and Booby are a lot alike. And I've said this before. And he helps me to get a better understanding of Booby at times. I will definitely say that. He helps me with understanding his perspective a little more as a man. It's things that I think of a little differently because of maybe little tidbits that you added in or said. When we first moved in here, and I was dealing with something with Booby, and I remember just kind of not understanding how he could think or feel the way he did. And I remember you saying something about, like, I want to say that your words were like, but what was your track record? And I remember sitting there and having to think about what I had shown him and what could make my son not have the most faith in me when it came to people, and what the situation was. So again, it was a situation where my son wasn't, let's just say, taking my word for a character reference of someone. And I was kind of like, well, I'm your mom. Like, why would I ever not be forthcoming with you? And I'm just going to put it in transparency. It was in regards to my relationship. It was when I was deciding, how I was moving forward with my relationship. And I'm coming to him saying, this person's a nice person, et cetera, et cetera. And my son was standoffish in the very beginning. And I couldn't understand it. And I was like, no, this is different. No, this is different. I know what I told you before, but no, this time, this is different. This person is different. The scenario is different, et cetera. And it was Charles that kind of was like, what's been your track record? And we had a full conversation about it and things that my son has endured or encountered, during dealing with my relationship.
So you felt, just for clarification purposes, like after you told your son, this is what I'm doing, you felt the need to reassure him that was the okay thing?
Did I feel a need to reassure him that?
Like reassure
okay
him, like,
thing?
yo, it's all good. You know what I mean? Charles is the man of my dreams. We doing whatever the fuck y'all doing, right?
Mhm.
You felt the need to do that after you told him, you know what I mean, this is the direction I'm going.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because
And-
that's my son.
Like,
Charles,
Charles, did you feel the need to reassure him?
No, not at all.
No,
my,
that's not
my,
something
my
that he
whole
should
thing
be.
was basically to be who I am, and let him decide for himself, based
Absolutely.
on his previous experiences and things like that. So let him see, I am what I am.
I don't need to get
outside
like
of-
too deep into it, but like, was there ever a conversation had between the two men? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Mhm.
No, there was
Well,
not really a
eventually.
deep conversation initially, but once we started to be around each other, started getting to know each other, then
Mhm.
yes.
Mhm.
Because of course, once you're no longer that new person, it's just like, okay, this is that new dude or whatever. Oh, okay, he's pretty cool. Just little stuff in here and there, and just kind of growing from there. So no, there was no initial sit down talk. This is what's happening. This is what it is. Because again, this was between him and his mom.
Absolutely.
And this was just here's where we are.
But
It was
between
very
him and his
organic.
mom.
That's what I
and
loved about it.
Only reason I ask is because in my head, Tanika was 100% out of place.
Oh,
And
I disagree strongly.
yes, that's why I said in my head.
Mhm.
And the only reason I say out of place is sometimes you gotta let men hash out things amongst men.
I
Now, it
disagree.
doesn't have to be, I'm not saying that Charles had to have this, I'm her new man now. Just, I'm straight. And like, it's something about looking into a man's eyes and you know if they real or not. You know what I'm saying? You look into a man's eyes and you have that conversation amongst men, and it's like, all right, you can make him feel better about it, but until I talk to that man, I don't give a fuck what you say.
I disagree. And
I
I
mean,
guess
I'm gonna
this
be
is where we go
respectful.
right back to the mental health situation. So if
Sure.
we have a young man who's been in a situation with his mother, and his mother and him, her and him are what it's always been. And when there have been instances where men have come in and looked him in the face and pretended to be something that they have not always been what they said. So these same very men that sat in his face and said, look, I love your mother, this is what we're gonna do, etc., were the same men that have stolen from him, have used him, have lied to him, have tried to verbally and physically attack him, or etc. So that has been a track record. This is what we were talking about, is what was your track record? So if there's been a track record of men that have come in the scenario and done nothing but, no matter what they've said in his face, have hurt, have used, has abused, have manipulated, what would make what he's saying any different? That was a conversation for myself and my sons. That man would have been
the
out of line
conversation.
and would have been wrong as hell to have that conversation with my son. This is where I think that maybe some of the women that are in here who are also parents should speak up. Charles would have been out of line if he would have overstepped me in a situation that was literally between me and my son.
I
I
absolutely
didn't
100%
say
agree.
overstep you.
No. You said I was out of bounds, and I'm saying it is 100% the opposite. Charles would have been out of bounds like a motherfucker had he ever had a conversation with my son, pleading to who he was when that was me and Louis
that would be
situation.
100% him out of place. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying,
You said, did you feel like you had to overemphasize to your son that this situation was
I'm
different?
saying you had your word with your son. You know what I'm saying? After that, that was your word. And you know what I'm saying?
No. But
As you-
again, my son has had a reason to question my word. This is where I think you're missing that. If my son has historically had situations where my word somehow didn't align with who these MFers came in his life and tried to be, not only for me, but to him, why would I not feel like I need to somehow be either consistent or, again, persistent in trying to explain the situation to him?
No, I mean,
Because again, this is where we
understand.
go right back to people have feelings. The men have feelings, children have feelings. And you've also said, he's a man now. He is a man
Exactly.
who has watched his mother almost his entire life be abused and mistreated.
I understand that. And
It don't
my
sound
whole
like it.
no, I truly do. And my whole point that I'm making is, I don't know. I look at it more of when you make your word known to your child, it's still a child.
No. He's not
Now,
a child. He's a young man who suffered abuse
mhm.
behind basically mistakes that I've made. He's a young man who's had to suffer with the change of his family and house dynamic based on mistakes that I've made. He is a young man that's had to encounter a bunch of stuff that he's had to witness his mother go through based on decisions that I made.
Crazy stuff, right? And I completely appreciate and understand where you're coming from. And what only thing that I'm saying is just in straight nature. I'm not trying to go into the psychology of your kid right now. That
kids, period,
way deeper than I'm
mine.
trying. I'm really more on the surface right now. When it's like, when I say in my head, you're out of place. You made a decision. You know what I'm saying? You let your kid know your decision.
That impacts
Your
all
partner.
of us.
Like, yeah, it impacts all of us. So if,
So
if we're not all on this same wave, that's why it's like, all right,
I make a
it's
decision.
not incumbent on Charles to go try and, you know what I mean, kiss up to him and make him feel all good. But it is like, yo, this is what it is.
I think that's,
No.
I agree
It's
with
just
him
men
if it
talking
was
to
a
men.
younger child. With older kids and adult kids, that's a total different ballgame. After you're an 11-year-old child, this is what it is. I explained that to you, and that's what it is. If you got a 20-year-old child, that's a different conversation. That's a total difference. I get what you're saying, but I also think that would be for younger children. For older children that have been through something, yeah, you kind of need to explain, hey, this is what's going on. No, he's not like so-and-so or so-and-so. I understand what you're saying. If I say that's what it is, that's what it is. And that's absolutely, I agree with that with younger children. With an older child that has been through something because of mom's relationships, I don't think that's the same conversation that needs to be had.
I'm gonna be
I agree
honest.
with that.
My
I can agree
listen,
with that.
I'm right now, I'm 45 years old. My
Yeah,
mother has
teenagers.
had a like back to back to back toxic ass relationships, back to back to back, my entire life. I have traumas in my life that shit I'm still dealing with based on relationship choices my mother made. Does my mother have to do with me the same thing I had to do with my son? Hell yeah. And I'm 45. I don't live in a house with my mother. We don't share no bills, no whatever together. But guess what? When it came to when she got with the last person that she's with now, did my mother not have a conversation with me when she had to overemphasize Melvin is different? Melvin, this is what Melvin is. This is what Melvin brings to the table. This is how Melvin treats me, and has to continuously reinforce that with me. Guess why? Because I have trauma that she caused me based on her poor decision making with her relationships. So yes, when it comes to my son who has literally trauma based on relationship choices I made, hell yeah, I'm gonna sit my baby down who gotta not only deal with this shit, but got a baby who is also gonna have to deal with this person and be like, let me overemphasize. I know you've heard me say this in the past. I know these niggas have sat in your face and lied in the past. However, I am going to over testify that this is different. Absolutely.
Okay.
And be patient with him as he basically warms up to that person. And Charles, as I asked him, be consistent in who you are. He will see it, and he has. But that had to happen organically. It was not something that he could force. It's not something I could force. But we had to see for himself the character of this man, and more importantly, how
I
he
guess
treated his
the main reason I
mother.
even ask is because the main reason I ask is because, as you know, I do have 2 children without a mother. And it's like,
Right.
how do you go
And that's
even
why
about
I'm even saying
explaining
with
that?
so much
You
passion.
feel me? And
you had 2 children
you know what I'm
because of the
saying?
fact
So
that you had your children have some, that's trauma there. Whether it's your daughter that's without her mother, or now your son again that's been, rather it's them moving to Houston, there's trauma there. When you come into bringing somebody into their life, it's not as simple as this is who daddy chose. You got to accept it, even at them being 11 and whatever else your daughter is. No, it's not that simple. And it's conversations that only you should be having with them about it.
I agree.
It is hurting your kids, hurt that other person don't know nothing about, they weren't a part of it, and etc. There are women that have been in their lives that have disappointed them. That there's a scab there. You don't let nobody deal with that wound but you. There's a wound in my son that I allowed to happen based on my poor decision making and the men I allowed to be in his life. No one gets to deal with that sword but me.
Wow.
But my break is over, and it's been a pleasure talking to you, wonderful folks. and we will continue this another time, I guess.
Absolutely,
You should
absolutely.
About having
I,
you should
I
think
thank you.
on a serious tip. You guys should think about having a conference and what you invite, you know, couples and whatnot. Because I was listening to a lot of things you said, and it's like, yo, it's kind of one-sided. I mean, I gave my point of view,
Mhm.
but I don't get the point of view of the person I deal with. You guys do this together as a couple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we get
And that's
to
why,
see
because we
that
want both
lens.
perspectives.
I know. That's why it's like I think you guys should just think about it. But I gotta get to work. I love you guys.
Okay.
Be safe.
Thank you for joining.
and-
I appreciate you.
All right.
Jumping on.
All righty.
All right, we're gonna wrap up anyway.
Yeah, we're definitely over time.
Yeah, so guys, thank you very much for tuning in. As we talked about, you know, the experiences that have shaped the relationships and the issues that we've had in such relationships. We didn't get a chance to get to some of the possible solutions. We did touch on it a little bit, so I'm just gonna go over really, really quickly some of the solutions. So here's a couple of ways how men can be more vulnerable. So basically, we do need to learn how to be more vulnerable and how to allow ourselves to express our emotions freely. However, it's hard to do because we've been bottling up these emotions for so long.
Mhm.
So one of the ways that we can start is just by simply being honest. You know, the other Donald that was on the line talked about going within, and it kind of brought up the meditation and just taking some time to just kind of soul search, some quiet time, just listen to that inner voice, see what it's talking about, see what it's saying. And so that's one of those ways that you can go about doing that. Another one is a hobby. So whether it's music, whether it's, you know, exercise, martial arts was one of those things as well. And I talked about how, you know, I've worked with and continue to work with men who need to learn how to relax, you know, because we've been so conditioned to just be strong the whole time, and it can't work that way. And so that's another outlet. So whether it's art, music, or whatever, just find something that, you know, that allows you to get in tune with who you are. And one of the third ways it talked about was therapy. You know, we did talk about how sometimes it can be a challenge to find someone who can relate to what it is that you're going through, whether they're your color or whether they're not. You know, it's more about finding someone who you can relate to. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the person of that same descent as yourself. If it's someone who's open, who understands how to communicate with you, or has some personal experience, color outside, then that's probably a good way to go. So if you guys have anything else that you know may have come across or seen or heard that could be a potential solution, you know, we did talk about potentially a group for men that, you know, we go about just kind of putting it together. Hey, a little group thing that we do here every Tuesday night or something like that, and just kind of get together and just kind of hang out and bounce ideas off of each other. You know, we're open to it. So again, executivelevelteam@gmail.com. Send those topic ideas, questions, things that you want to hear about. You know, we are here for it, and it's all about the progression of all of us as a whole. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, we'll close it out, guys. As always, thank you very much for visiting. It's all about, you know, helping you to commit and to level up in every area of your life. So whether it's finance, business, health, relationships, whatever it is, we're going to talk about it. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Bye-bye.